from your fingertips to your elbow. That's the total length of this animal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is unreal. This is like now my 4th Christmas in a week. We should do this more often.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
What fascinates me most about the animal circle of life is the intricacies between the large and the very, very small. I mean, it's very easy to go out there and find the large. Once you found the large, the cascading effect down to the small absolutely fascinates me. Alertness and situation awareness is by far the #1 aspect for protecting ourselves out on safari.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth. This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Another beautiful start to the safari this afternoon. This morning we had these wonderful zebras and they're still around. That's just beautiful. We don't get to see them as often as I would like here on Djuma Game Reserve. So I'm very excited. It's nice and warm. Quite a bit of cloud cover. Hoping we're not going to have rain, but I'm very excited. So jump on board, everyone. We've already got some zebras. Let's see what else we can find on your live safari through the African bush. Welcome everyone. Wonderful to have you on board. We have lots of plans for this morning. This afternoon. I'm just going to turn down my Game Drive radio. Good start here with these zebras all swishing their tails because it's a bit warm and maybe there's some flies bothering them. It is me, Trishala, and I have Mpho on camera, and we're here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa, and we are ready to go on safari. Your safari, by the way, a live safari, and you can talk to us using the hashtag WildEarth. Give us your questions and your comments. You can also use @FC on the YouTube chat stream, or you can go over to our website, register and use our questions and comment box. For our kids under 18, you can use kids questions at wildearth.tv, and we would love to hear from you all. Now, we were very lucky to stop over with these zebras this afternoon. I'm glad that they're still around. But my plan is actually to go down to the den. Could still fairly overcast, so I'm hoping there'll be some action around there. And then once this evening rolls in, I want to find a leopard. I really, really do. So I'm going to focus all my efforts after we pop into the den. Or I'll focus them between the den and and looking for a leopard. So maybe we'll pop through to Chitwa a little bit later too, and also see if there's any chance of maybe Thandi and Maribs, or even Kuchava and her cub. That would be excellent. So it's about 26 degrees Celsius out here at the moment, 78 degrees Fahrenheit. But we've got some large clouds forming. Here's no tail, or half a tail. It's quite cute the way it throws itself around like that. Now the zebra that's closest to us seems to have a bit of a limp. I'm quite sure it didn't have that this morning, unless I missed it, which is very possible. So I've just got my binoculars out. Can you see that back right leg is lifted off the ground? It can't put weight in it. Or at least if it can only do it briefly. We can't really see what the problem is, though. If it starts to walk, I've got my binoculars ready, locked onto it. It looks like it must be quite difficult for it to walk if it's staying still and not eating for this amount of time. Oh, you all say these tails never stop? Well, if I had a whole lot of flies and other pests constantly trying to get at my bottom, I think my tail wouldn't stop either. It actually has such a wide area that it can cover to shoo away any pests. I'd say about 1/3 of the body can be covered by that tail. See how it's very still and not feeding, so its injury is either very painful or it's suddenly decided that now is the time to think and have an inward moment. Far more likely that it's got an injury that's quite painful. Andrew, you'd like to know what's my favorite subspecies of zebra in South Africa? Andrew, I can't say that I've ever thought about my favorite subspecies. Let's start with telling you that, firstly, I can't even choose a favorite anything, really. Everything is so beautiful and is good for a variety of different things. But I do really like the Birchall zebra, or the plain zebra. The other zebras can look a little bit different. But, oh, look at that. It's just starting to hop along. Let's just have a quick look here. But Andrew, I really like the Birchall zebra. It's the zebra that we see a lot. It's the zebra that I've seen growing up. So it does have a special place. Grevy's and mountain zebra, we don't, or I haven't seen them enough. They don't hold a special place of familiarity in my heart. In lots of natural spaces around the country, not necessarily game reserves, you see zebra quite a lot. So I have seen them growing up. Oh, there's a nice look. Often. The grass is so tall. I really can't see the extent of the injury, but it looks like it might have something to do with the hoof or just above the hoof. I also really like the faded sort of grey lines between the really dark black lines on the Birchall zebra or plain zebra. Shame, poor thing, it's not even moving. Moonbeam, you'd like to know how much control does a zebra actually have in its tail? It's a very difficult question to ask. Obviously, the tail is a continuation of the spine, so there are bones in the tail, and there are strong muscles at the base of the tail that allow it to swoosh like that. But its movement basically comes from one bit, so it can't really move the half the tail. The movement is all coming from the swinging on the top of the tail, where the tail attaches to the bottom there. That's where there's enough muscle for it to be able to create movement. But that movement can be slow, it can be fast, it can stop altogether. But different portions of the tail can't move separately. It is a really beautiful tail. It sometimes looks to me like it's a plait, like you would make when you went to school in primary school. Or maybe you're still in primary school and you do your hair in a plait before you go to school. That's what a zebra's tail reminds me of. Or in a braid. A lovely, lovely scene, but I want to head down to the den because it feels like a good den time. If it were a 30 degrees Celsius afternoon, then I would say not. But with this kind of weather, I'm feeling it. And half the time in the bush, it's a feeling. So let's go for it. What a nice start. I hope that you're as happy and excited as I am. Well, I've told you about the weather here on Djuma. It feels like it just dropped a degree or so, or the sun's been covered. Hopefully no rain. But let's send you over to have a look at the weather at our other locations too.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to And Beyond Phinda, where we've just noticed some vultures circling right above us, catching these thermals. And we've come out to an area in search of some buffaloes. There was quite a big herd this morning seen in this area. There's quite a lot of water around, lots of lush green grass. So we've decided to see if we can find them, and then potentially later head towards the lions that we're seeing not too far from here, and see if we can find them. But it's a beautiful sunny day here on Phinda, quite hot. There is a slight breeze, so that is cooling us down for now, which is quite nice. And hopefully those lions will be a little bit more active this evening, maybe potentially moving towards water. But my name's Chad. On camera we got Simon. And we're going to continue driving around and see if we can find those buffaloes. If no luck with those buffaloes, then we will start to head into that area where the lions are. They were quite full because it was the same lions that were on the buffalo yesterday, and they did move a little bit away from that buffalo, I think just to rest. Maybe that buffalo was getting a little bit stinky. Also, it was rotting quite a bit because it was in the water. So maybe those lions decided to move off. But we do also know not too far from where that buffalo was that there is a giraffe carcass that we suspect was struck by lightning. So maybe that one was a little bit fresher from the lightning strike, and maybe they've started to move towards that carcass rather. There were a lot of vultures around there, so maybe with these vultures circling, those lions noticed that the vultures were circling, and they've decided to move into that area to go and investigate and see if they can find that carcass, whatever the vultures were circling on. But I think for now, we're going to continue driving around, see if we can find those buffaloes. If no luck, we'll start heading towards where those lions were last left this morning. But for now, we're going to send you over to Tswalu and see what their plan is for the afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to Tswalu Kalahari. Look at that gorgeous view. We're starting up from the top of the dune here. As we progressed up to the top of the dune, our team in the afternoon is me, Yuan, your guide from the Kalahari, and behind the camera this afternoon is Morgan, and we are going to be progressing down this beautiful road off down this dune, and going to see if we can find some of the Kalahari lions. We're aiming for the Southern Pride today as well, looking for the cubs in this area. But just coming back to this gorgeous view, seeing how much cloud cover has the wind, the strong winds from this morning that we were talking about, constantly blowing strongly from the northern direction, which is definitely, well, typically where our rain comes from. And in that conditions, look at the amount of cloud cover and rain clouds that's been blowing in. And as you can see, as Morgan is showing us, the rain starting to come down there in few spots. It's not dramatic thunderstorming happening yet, but yeah, a few drops of rain starting to come down. But look at this gorgeous view as the wind is just on a slow breeze coming through on the top of the dune, on the grasses here coming through. But yeah, as I was saying, from this gorgeous point of view, we just wanted to show you that, and looking at how the conditions changed since this morning, and looking at the plans for this afternoon. I think we will be getting a bit more animal activity this afternoon as opposed to this morning, with animals, well, shall I say, animals being more relaxed as opposed to this morning's event. So what we're going to do is we're going to drive down the road, and we're going to see if we can get those cubs further down at one of the waterholes down in this direction. So follow us. We're going to go down that way. Excellent. So yeah, we're going to look for the lions down in this direction, as I said, in the waterholes direction down there. And yeah, hopefully we find those cubbies this afternoon.
Just look at that. It is absolutely incredible. And as far as I can see, that all falls within the reserve. So it is a vast landscape, but we are gifted with these incredible things, you know, the wildcats, the aardvark, yeah, you name it. It just keeps on delivering. It's just such an incredible privilege to be out here.
And when you think it could not get better, Mother Nature says, hold on tight.
Oh my word, that is gorgeous. We are cooking on gas this afternoon.
Have a look at what we've got. Look at how this is the best day of my gutting career so far.
We have a baby pangolin, a baby pangolin. We're just gonna go very quietly, very quietly. There's your aardvark. And for those of you who've never seen one, this is one of the big safari specials on any reserve.
I'm just holding my cap because otherwise it's going to blow away, and with this storm coming towards us.
Absolutely beautiful to be able to see water flowing in this volume in the Kalahari. Oh, look at that. You can see the structural component of these flowers. It is perfect. Such a treat to be in and amongst these incredible insects. How lucky are we? You can see how close they are to the vehicle. Very curious.
Oh, you can do it! There we go. We made it over. Whew. But look at that view. That's absolutely stunning.
You can see how they're going into stalking mode. Okay, there we go. This one female is gonna walk straight past the car now. Absolutely stunning. Look at that. I mean, do we just not have the best jobs in the world? That was epic.
We had a good feeling. And we're at the den and it is active. I'm so glad about that. We've got Heart and her 2 cubs enjoying a late afternoon snack. They so remind me of babies when they drink. The way when a baby is being breastfed, then it pants almost, or all the drinking takes so much of effort from them that you see them breathing quite quickly. You see the same things with these little ones. I can't believe that a cub is actually comfortable with its mother's 2 legs wrapped around its neck. Can't say I've ever been fed like that. It must be quite uncomfortable actually to be drinking with that, with the 2 legs alongside the side of your neck. But that's what happens when you're in the less dominant position, when suckling from mum. Oh, I can hear the actual pulling, the It's so faint though, I hope you'll be able to hear it. Probably not. June's little one and Corky's little one are also out. They're just at the den entrance and they're very well hidden by some bush at the moment, but we're just seeing a bit of them. Maybe they'll come out a little bit in an area that's a little bit more open, so you can have a better look. The Heart was one of the hyenas that were having that really civil interaction with the wild dogs. It was yesterday morning. Yeah, yesterday morning. Making new friends, branching out. Heart is. You can hear that bird so clearly. That's a black-crowned chagra. Apart from the chagra that was shouting quite loudly and the other soft tweetings of birds, I don't hear much else. In fact, that seems to be the theme of the day. Quiet, serene scenes in the bush today. I can also hear a black-headed oriole in the background. Softer than the chagra was, though. So some buffalo have come through here. Possibly last night. And I wonder if that's why we didn't really see them, or didn't see them this morning, and also struggled yesterday. Because you find when there's big herbivores around, whether it's a herd of elephants, buffalo, the cubs tend to be inside the den and the adults move off, because elephants and buffalo are not big fans of hyenas or any other predators for that matter. But nice to see that everybody's looking good. Only Ribbon's two boys and Tima's tiniest little one to complete the roll call here at the den. Johnny, you'd like to know if hyena mums actively defend their cubs against predators? Yes, to an extent. If they see, firstly, the cubs know what to do if a predator comes along. The den is their safe space, and if they can make it into the den, they will survive. So the first thing that they'll do if they see a predator, sense a predator, is go straight into the den. And hyenas communicate with many non-verbal cues. Body language, scent, all sorts of things that we don't have a real grasp on. And those will give the cubs cues to get into the den. Now, if there is a lion and a hyena mum and her cub, and the den is not close by, she may try and distract the lion. She may run off and get the lion to chase her or something like that. In fact, Corky did a similar thing when she was attacked by the dark-maned avoca a couple years back. Her youngster Plonk, who's no longer with us, Plonk was out with Corky, and then the dark-maned avoca came and she made a dash for it, but in so doing got the attention of the avoca to be focused on her and not on Plonk. So in that way, yes. But would a lion and a hyena fight to the death while her cub sits there vulnerably? No. What she's doing is giving the cub an opportunity to run and get into the den. But very few mothers out here will, sacrifice themselves and their survival for their cubs or for their youngsters, because if the youngsters are not independent or not even close to independence, then it makes no sense for the survival of the species for them to give up themselves, who are reproductive and can be successfully reproductive for several generations, to give themselves up in order for the survival of a cub who probably won't survive once their mother's dead. Anyway, sorry about that. I meant to send you to Swallow, so off you go.
Welcome back, folks, and we have just found a very cool set of tracks that's coming across here. As you can see, those prints where the soil have been flattened and so on. As you can see there, you can see the walls of the sand been pushed up a bit there in this position. And I don't know if you heard the sound of that water bird that just went off there. There's some birds chirping along. So we're close to a water point with these tracks, and look at what we have just found right here. But what's even more crazier is cubs that is suckling at the moment. So as we came across this area, we obviously spotted these lions, but I said to Morgan, we must just look at that set of tracks on the road, which is so cool, actually seeing how they were lying down here earlier on during the day. And then looking at this position where they're suckling now, there's two mothers here of the Southern Pride. And there's cubs all over the reserve at the moment. And so what's happening is that these two females, you can see another big female in the foreground here, that's her cubs, and the little one to the left of the tree here, that's her cubs actually out and about, just sitting around her. But yeah, that little guy that's now licking his paw there, he was wanting to come up to that female of the smaller cubs and trying to actually come for a drink, joining those little cubbies there to suckle and so. But guys, what's so amazing is looking at the young age of these cubs and seeing how dark they are already, being the true bloodlines of your desert lions that you have in this area. You can see how dark those heads are coming out there as well. But very cool seeing these little cubbies. They were actually going quite feisty at each other just before you came to us. And looking at how they're drinking, it looks like some of them are falling asleep like proper babies. So these little cubbies that's drinking there, they're about 5 months old now. And the older cubs of the other lioness flat out asleep as well. She's got the cubs that is 8 months of age. There is 2 more lionesses of this pride that is still hiding their cubs in amongst the mountains and so. But yeah, they are in amongst this area that comes and goes in the Southern Pride territory. And so those cubs are a bit too young to come into the pride. We'll see how it goes here this afternoon. Because these cubs are at a very energetic stage of their lives, I think we're going to get a fantastic afternoon here with these little ones as this stunning formations of cloud cover is starting to blow over. I think we're going to get some great activity here this afternoon, and then maybe later on in the afternoon we might swap over to the southern sections, try to find one of those females with those tiny newborn. Well, they're not newborn, but they're about 2.5, almost 3 months, looking at the age there. But yeah, seeing these 5-month-old cubs, it's just cub time on Tswalu. It's so cool seeing how they're drinking together. So what's very special about this is literally looking at these 2 lionesses that is having their cubs here together, forming the pride together almost already. So this pride is consisting out of the 4 lionesses, and with all of them having cubs at the moment. But as I was saying, with this formation, with these little cubs already forming the pride together, the older cubs, shall I say, the older version, they form the pride together. And so with those newborn cubs, the cubs that's a bit younger, those guys will start to come into the pride shortly within, I'd say give it another 2-3 weeks or so. And so after 3 weeks or so, they would join into this pride and just forming the pride to a bigger number as well. As we've been talking a lot about it, where these lions, especially like many other animals in this environment, need to combine up for safety in numbers. And the way to survive in this ecosystem is exactly that, having a rather large number in the group structure as it is. It's amazing to see these cats still quite asleep, but I think we're going to spend a good time here this afternoon. Everybody is commenting that it's such a beautiful moment. I cannot agree more. It's so amazing to see a species and a bloodline that is so rare in Africa, that is obviously very special to this environment particularly, to see that there's so much babies around and so much lion cubs being born in the Kalahari lion bloodlines. That's really special. Oh, bless you. Look at that stretch. And he might even come over, just investigate around us as well. The thing is also, these lions gets to a point that they are a bit more wilder in a sense of your everyday African lion that you get at most safari destinations. And so it takes a while because of the vast open spaces that we have. It takes a while sometimes to get them used to it, but eventually the adults, their behavior will rub off on the cubs fairly, shall I say, in a good month or month and a half time, which is actually quite quick, actually, if you talk about it from a habituation point of view. But yeah, lions, being a desert lion, or Kalahari lion, being alongside with other normal African lions in Africa, it gets to a point that they still have an extremely strong curiosity level and sometimes comes to investigate vehicles quite often. This older cubs would be obviously the most relaxed in this condition situation. She's got this lioness is turned onto her back, and as she's on her back, it's in a position basically where they clear the digestive system, and it just helps the belly cool down, helps the digestive flow system going through effectively, and just in such a good condition. But very interesting that the tree stem that they're lying underneath and the spot where they're sitting at is a shepherd's tree, and it's one of the mother plants of the environment, talking about how the tree itself have got such a dense crown as it is, as you look at that. And so it covers, literally, you can get to a summer day temperature of about 40-45 degrees Celsius as it is. Then it gets to a point that it cuts the daytime temperature into half, and let's say you've got 40 degrees Celsius, it cuts it into 20 degrees Celsius in the shade, and that's where the name came from being a shepherd's tree. The old farmers in the olden days used to say that it's the shepherd looking after their animals in their landscape, because it gives so much good shade. Now, if you've got a nice breeze coming through in the shade of this tree itself as well, then it comes down to that situation that you'll get to a point where it's a nice breather for the animals as well. And how interesting to see that these desert lions just know exactly that this is the tree they had to choose because of the benefit of this shepherd that's looking after its landscapes animals. Man, just look at that little cubby just tucking into next to mom there. Mom maintaining herself a bit there. And those guys are out for the count. Julia, you asking if these cubs are this lioness's first litter? Julia, this lioness that's on the right-hand side, she's actually a bit of an older lioness. So she's had like at least 3 litters before on Tswalu, and so she's at about 6 years of age or so, 6 to 7 years approaching. And looking at the year when I started here in 2014, it got to a point where she was the cubs of those years, basically. So she should be close to actually approaching 7 years now. So she's got, this is her second to third litter, basically, if I'm not mistaken. Lioness over to the left, she's a bit younger. She's about close to 3.5 years of age. So this is her first litter this is her first litter actually, because she was mated with for the first time by one of the territorial males that moved into the area. But yeah, the lioness with this little big cub on her bum, if I can put it that way, she's the older lioness of the pride, of the Southern Pride. Man, I'm just dozing off. I am just falling asleep. This younger lioness also getting a bit more active now as well. Marco, you're wondering how likely is it for these cubs to make it to adulthood? Marco, you know what? Because of the number and the size of the prides, oh, look at that bend and that yawn. You know, these lions, you can see slowly but surely they're getting a bit more active. So because of the strength in the numbers, shall I say, it is actually quite strong strength within it. So I'd say about a good 70 to 80% chance is the likeliness for, especially the new cubs, to make it to adulthood. The older they become, the stronger they form part of a unity that protecting themselves in total. And as it comes down to that situation, it gets to a point that they will be a bit more protected. When South Pride and North Pride meets up on the boundaries of their territory sometimes and bumps into each other, then it comes down to the situation that they do lose a cub here and there, whether it's North or South Pride. The downside is Northern Pride has got a bit more adult animals at the moment. So yes, South Pride might lose a cub here and there, but the likeliness is actually pretty strong. that they might make it to adulthood. Look at the amount of butterfly activity that's flying around. Look at that meet and greet between the two adult lionesses. And that is so important that they show this mutual respect to each other actually in this condition situation. Because in this formation, this is how they keep the bond strong within a pride. And you'll see the cubs will play a lot with each other at this stage. And in that situation, that's how they survive to adulthood. Stunning, stunning seeing this young lioness coming through. Beautiful. See one of the other cubs moving over again. So all of this yawning activity and everything that's been happening and so on, it's in a situation that there's that's typically for cats. It's like us getting up in the morning, early in the morning, waking up, and you have this nice stretch and a big yawn and everything. And so as it comes down to that situation, it's like the process of waking up. Typically with lions, but also now I'm very surprised. Okay, in a way, I'm not surprised because the cool weather blown in by these stunning clouds that's come over, it's in a situation that it's cooled down to temperature dramatically because we're in a desert environment. The temperature can drop immediately as well. So in that formation, that is why there's a bit more activity happening here at the moment. But you can see these cats are about to get up slowly but surely. They're getting active. And so in these conditions, it's why I said originally that I'm actually surprised that there's this amount of activity already, is because it's quite early still in the afternoon. But that's a normal condition. They would have been still flat out for the count. But they responded so quickly to these conditions, it looks like they are keen for a hunt as well. So these lionesses might even take these cubs to the edge of the mountain on the edge of the waterhole here. And then it might get to a point that they're going to get to a situation of maybe leaving the cubs and then going off for a good hunt. We're going to send you over to Pridelands.
Good afternoon and welcome to Pridelands Eco Training, everybody, where we've got a beautiful pair of African hawk eagles. The one on the left has a full crop. You can see the chest is standing out there, almost pushing away the dark patches of feathers that should be there. Generally always in a pair. Saw them flying before and quickly reversed back to see if we could get them. How wonderful. Maybe we should introduce ourselves this afternoon. Hello everybody, my name is Steve Holbridge, joined by Johan on camera, and as always wonderful to have you with us on board. We're excited and looking forward to giving you a wonderful show this afternoon from Pridelands. So if you have any questions for us, send them through. Let's go back over to the hawk eagles. Now, always in a pair, monogamous pairs, generally large raptors are monogamous, but these two hunt in a pair. They're actually very efficient in that regard. If you've ever seen what birds do when they get sort of hunted by birds of prey, they scatter. And so these birds have got the strategy of sending one in to sort of cause chaos, and then the other one comes in from a different angle and catches one in the chaos. It's a very, very useful strategy. And we talk often about predator-prey interactions and relations and how prey animals have gotten adapted to the predators. And some predators get faster and faster and faster and more agile, and some just get a friend or girlfriend to help them hunt, which is a very nice strategy. I'm going to allow you to listen to some of the sounds here for a moment. So we see many of our ground birds around, the francolins, guinea fowl and the like. It's generally the primary food that these individuals will catch. But a wide variety of birds as well as mammals will be taken, as well as hares, squirrels, mongoose, fruit bats and even rodents. The one on the left has definitely got a very full crop, which will eventually go in to the gizzard for digestion. I think she's saving a little bit for later. Well, we're going to probably spend another few moments here or carry on towards Leopard Dam and send you over to Swallow Kalahari.
Welcome back, folks. As our yawning lions in a pre-redigating motion, as we've seen previously, we have them active. So you can see these cats are now, they just come up to the water here and drinking. Got a nice audio of the blacksmith lapwing in the background. But I'm just going to keep quiet a bit just to listen to this cat drinking. It's so cool to hear the drinking happening there at that point. That is just so special to hear that audio as they drink together. And cubs obviously are quite afraid of water sources at the beginning when they are this young. And seeing this formation like this, where they come and sit right next to the mother, as they obviously look at what the mother is doing, and then they obviously know, okay, well, this is what we should do for a good drink for safety purposes. As she looks around to the back as well, cubbies are still quite thirsty. You can see the midday of today was quite hot actually. And looking at this formation, just so special to see these lions now on their feet for a good drink. I think they're going to slowly but surely start moving off into some of the edges of these hills for a potential hunt. But look at that big lioness, guys. Just so beautiful seeing the colors and seeing them at this water source of the Kalahari. The blacksmith lapwing just tapping on his iron there at the background. That's where the name comes from, as it's like a blacksmith tapping on iron. Constant tapping that we could hear there in the background, as the blacksmith lapwings are strong water birds hunting on some water insects. But amazing looking at these lions drinking at the same time, just having that audio as well, just so special. It looks like more of them has lined up at the backdrop there as well. Look at that silhouette on the water source there as well. So from here, I think they're going to keep looking, keep observing, and just thinking, what is the right direction to move off into? We could see some of these cubbies, their bellies, it's not empty, but they're getting ready for another hunt as it is. So all of these little ones are now just lined up at the edge of the water. So special seeing them coming through in this formation. And the curious older cub just looking across the water as there's more movement closer to us as well. Eventually lion cubs like this, they start enjoying the edges of water points like this quite often, as they are in situations where they find it quite interesting looking at themselves and playing with the water. They sometimes sweep the water if they look at themselves in the water, reflections as well happening, as a little lion cub of these young ages are all still in a learning curve formation, trying to learn the ways of a lion's life. Man, they are just so cute. So incredible. Leopard Girl, you asking if there's a size difference between these lions and the Kruger lions. You know what? At the well, should I say at the bigger end of the day, the bloodlines are a bit different because lions that truly occurs from here, it is lions that grows into a bit of a bigger size and shape, as well as the paw shape and size as well. It's a tall built animal because it's an animal that truly belongs to this environment, the desert lions as it is. And so sometimes you'll have the older lions, it grows into very big sizes as it is, in the sense of built for stamina, built for endurance, built in a way where it deals with a hot, dry climate environment. On top of that, it's to hunt in the dense sand as you hunt in the loose sand in this formation of the dune fields of it in this environment. And sometimes you'll have the Kruger lions a bit more stockier built. So yeah, basically it's just truly coming back to the size in the sense of the true bloodlines occurring. Look at that, for instance, that young cubby walking off the 8-month-old cub. I mean, that's 8 months old, and that's already that size, the way it looks like there. I mean, it's crazy looking at the size difference between 5-month-old to the left and then the bigger cub as Morgan is moving off to the front of this one here again. But yeah, sometimes there's a lot of times where you'll have the sizes more or less being the same, but then it gets to a point that at the end of the day, when you look at lions growing quite older in the Kalahari, they become quite tall in size as it is. We're going to send you back over to that from these beautiful lion cubs over to the hyena den.
Oh, little cubs like that are just the perfect age to be full of energy and so curious. I'm sure he's going to have a wonderful time, and so will you. But here we have a little more excitement going on. The other two cubs that were just sitting at the den, obviously we've repositioned so we can see them. But Corky's little one, who's on the ground in front of the den entrance, has got a horn of some description. That's about the size of her. And she's guarding it from any of the other cubs at this point. She's walking around with it too. It looks like a buffalo horn. But it's quite old, so it's probably hollowed out and quite light. Because I have no idea how with such ease she's carrying it about. That's June's. June's little girl there. I'm getting bitten by stuff, but they don't feel like mosquitoes. Biting flies. Excuse me if you hear my jacket moving around. Come on, show us your horn. Craig, you'd like to know if their food comes mostly from hunting or scavenging. Hyenas will hunt 50% of the time and scavenge 50% of the time at least. In other areas of the world, or in other areas of Africa, like in East Africa, they will even hunt for a higher percentage, about 70 to 80% of their food comes from active hunting. But in areas where there's a high predator density, like here, where there's lots of leopards and lions, they will hunt a little less of the time, but still at least 50% of the time. So that reputation as scavengers has developed because they're really good scavengers. And you don't get to see hyenas hunting often. But we do see them scavenge often. But that's how that has been skewed. Because our opinion was based only, or our observations based only on what we can see. And like I said, majority of the time you don't see them actively hunting. I can hear tiny teeth biting on that horn. These two have been feeding for quite some time now, and they probably will for even a little longer, quite a bit longer, unless something distracts Hart. Now we've got two of the tiny ones. Well, I guess Corky's daughter is not that tiny anymore. Both of them at the horn. When will they show it to us? Hopefully in a little bit.
Imagine having your own secluded African bush home where you and your friends can enjoy the ultimate safari experience. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, this could become a reality. Tumbeta House is located in the heart of Djuma Private Game Reserve, the home of Wild Earth. You could win a chance to stay at this intimate wilderness retreat, offering you the rare and highly sought-after privilege of your own home in the bush. The prize includes 3 nights for 6 people and includes daily game drives, a chance to see the Wild Earth Camp, and have dinner with one of our guides. Sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer before the end of February 2021, and you could be heading to Djuma, the place that we call home. Available dates are limited, so terms and conditions apply.
Sometimes love wants to make you sing. And sometimes love wants to make you bow and fan your wings to your bow. For the southern yellow-billed hornbill, these are signs that love is in the air. These birds are destined for a season of monogamy at least. Breeding pairs are in it for the survival of their chicks. But before love commences, the male needs to woo his valentine with food in the form of nuptial gifts.
My name is Ross, and I'm a field guide at Anbion-Pinde Private Game Reserve. I love getting questions from guests on Wild Earth because I love sharing and learning information about nature with new people, and it also makes me feel like you're all joining me in real life. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit your question below our live feed.
Guys, have a look at what we've got. This is better than my birthday. Look at that. This is the first time that I ever see cubs this small. This is so special. This has officially just become my best sighting of all times.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
And here we are having this beautiful, beautiful young lioness in the tree. She's just become very active, just thinking about scouting from a tree vantage point of view, just thinking about seeing adult lions. You get this type of behavior happening every now and again with young adults, if I can put it that way. This lioness, as I've mentioned earlier, around about 3 years of age. But look at that gorgeous image, seeing how she's in around the branches there, just scouting all over the show. In the background, we can hear a bit of the thunder from those cloud buildup that's been coming in. We might actually get some of those young cubbies, the older cubs, coming up to her and actually wanting to investigate, trying to see why did she go up there and what is she doing up there. And the cubs most probably will go up trying to investigate that just to see what's happening. Look at that yawn. It's like a lion leopard in the tree, just scouting over the area. And that's good for lion cubs to have a young mother like that particular lioness, because, yeah, there we go. There's one of the cubbies coming up into the tree there as well. And because it shows them quite a lot of investigation strategies and structures of ways of survival. Lions are not the best tree climbers. Look at how this lioness is trying to grip onto the tree there. She was like sort of almost slipping there. But yeah, anyways, good for exploring structures and situations for the cubs as it is as well. Right on top of the dead branches, guys. She's about a good 2 meters in the air. Look at that little one coming on right below her. That is just so special. One couldn't ask for more, thinking about seeing rarities like this. Just while she's standing on a branch like that, just talking about her age specifically, if you look at the back legs, young lions, you'll find quite a bit of a rosette formation. Rosettes are those stripes in a circle that forms up and makes up a leopard's skin, if I can put it that way. So young lions have that same rosette formation on the back legs especially as well. Like if you look at the cubs as well, you'll see the cubs have got that rosette markings all over the body. But the moment they lose that rosette, you're looking at a situation where they get to a point of about 3.5 years of age. And she is very close to that now. Guys, just look at that young little guy, just underneath the mother, just trying to investigate, trying to figure out what is actually happening here, what's going on. Why did she climb up the tree? Because, like Moritz was saying the other day as well, as one has done it, all of them has got to do it. It's that curiosity level that just kills them big time. One's done it, all of them's got to do it, from the cubs' point of view. But from the scene that we have had previously, and suddenly we come to something like this, where it's just come up to a tree, scouting on the edge of this waterhole. It's literally a painting that we're looking at right now, with the lion in the tree and the big lioness on the edge of the water. Yo, she's a beautiful cat. That is so beautiful. One of the older cubs walking past her. And look how the mother of the smaller cubs, being the older lioness, is grooming the cub there actually. Oh, there's a bit of a phlegm and grumps happening there, just testing the air particles. But yeah, looking at that point of view, these animals are always in a situation where they're trying to help each other out within a pride formation. Like they will even go as far as allosuckling, where both mothers will nurse each other's cubs as well. But that, just seeing that from that point of view, where that cub walked right past the, shall I say, its auntie. You can hear the thunder roaring behind us. But yeah, so gorgeous seeing this cat in the tree, and for such a long time. I mean, generally, adult lions don't stay as long as this in trees for such a long time. Generally, it's quick up and then go again. But you can see these cats, as she's standing on the branch, they look at this little cubby just trying to figure out, how did she get up there? How on earth did she get up there? Like, I want to try that as well. Come on, Mom. Show me, how did you do this? But yeah, very cool looking at her paws on the stem there as well, as opposed to the cub paws still trying to figure out how to climb a tree. And she's got a fairly good grip there. She might jump out of the tree now. Very nice pose. And as you can see, just as she's standing positioned there, you were seeing it's not really suckled on anymore. So these cubs are weaned already, as it is. And these cubs, as it goes through in this formation, that is why she's the mother of the older cubs, the 8-month-old cubs. We're going to send you over to Trish.
Look at this Corky's little one, who's named Braveheart, is now exploring. She's left her horn down somewhere. She went and greeted the other guests in the vehicle that's joined us. Now she's just going to have a good look around her territory. Yes, she is. But a scent marking here and there, I'm sure. And just a whole lot of sniffing and learning about the environment around her. I wonder where she's been. If she's been down to Treehouse Dam, I'm sure she has. But where else? I don't think she's come to camp before. I haven't seen tracks that little. But who knows, maybe she has. Hello, precious. Have you come to investigate my vehicle now? Yep. It's just so enjoyable to just watch them. She's busy now on this side. I'm going to try and duck so you don't see me and you can actually see her. She's got a big old branch to play with. But that's as good as we can see. As I crouch down. Ta-da! I'm back. Hi, Elaine. You'd like to know if I've ever seen a melanistic or leucistic hyena? No, I haven't. But I do know, I think Brent saw one in the Mara a couple of years back. And leucistic definitely do exist, but I can't say I've seen pictures of or heard of a melanistic. But leucistic, definitely. I wish I had seen it, but unfortunately not. It's so nice when they're close by, but she's gone round now. So we just have this very peaceful scene to watch. Yeah, Corky's little guy has always been so full of energy and this bright kind of spark. See, as these two are feeding, she's coming and interrupting them. Come on. Is it playtime yet? You've been drinking for so long. Oh, Ruben's arrived. Okay, we're just gonna listen now because there's gonna be some fantastic sounds. stars here. Everyone is ready to greet the matriarch. Lots of hype and excitement when she arrives. You can see more cubs came out. Everyone's lifted their leg to be greeted, to be reacquainted with their scents. Oh, look in the distance there. That's Ndima's little one trying to get in to greet Heart. Because remember, she's just emerged. Oh, shame. Guys, this is so exciting. This is the best. Where there's all these sounds going on. They're all out, tails up. They're feeling excited. Oh, shame. Shame everyone's so big. That's this little one shouting like that. That's a little whoop. You can hear how that initial shout becomes a tiny little whoop. Oh, because of the end of it where you can hear the whoop. That's how you know it's a whoop. Oh, that is so amazing. See how every clan member gets met. And look at Ruben's two boys. Could even intimidate Heart. So there we saw some important things. We saw Ruben's two boys able to intimidate Heart, stand their ground. They didn't squeal like her little one is now. Her little boy, can you see her? Youngster is the one that's making the screaming sounds now. While we have our three youngest in the Djuma clan all together in the den there. Their mums not around. Franklin shouting in the background has really gotten their attention. Could someone else be arriving? That's really interesting because that's not Corky's gull trying to mate or mount that little one. She's playing with her in that way. It almost seemed protective or warm. This is amazing. I just like to watch and just take it all in, the sounds, the sights, when there's so much activity happening. Because often when we come here, we see them feeding, which is amazing too. We're so lucky to get to see that so regularly. But it's these kind of interactions that are just truly, truly special. A bit of roughhousing going on there. Oh, it was actually June's little one that's playing or trying to dominate Intima's tiny thing there. But it's so gentle. Laura, you'd like to know at which age I can tell the gender of the cubs? If we get a good look at its penis or pseudopenis, then we can tell as soon as we see the cub. The thing is that you have to consistently check, because at such a young age, at just a few weeks old or a month old, pseudopenis or penis is so tiny that you can't really see what we need to see, and what we need to see is either more of a wide neck or more of a narrow neck, and that's a bit difficult to see at this age. So you need to check consistently. So what we normally do is we just have a look every time we come to just keep it consistent, so that we can say, oh, maybe something's changed in the shape or something like that. And then by the time they're about 3 months old, you should be able to tell quite definitely. But that being said, many people have got it wrong across different ages. I mean, Ribbon was thought to be male until she gave birth to Intima and Lamula, which was Intima's littermate. So for a long time, because it's so difficult, animals can be considered the wrong sex. So with hyenas, it just takes consistent checking, behavior. It's not just, looking at the sex organ, but actually looking at behavior, and of course if they give birth or not. This was amazing. This was a really awesome interaction to see here. This is what I hope for when I come to the den. I hope to see these interactions, hope to see them making all these sounds, and watch the way that their relationships are building. So that was just epic.
February is the month of love, and nature is no exception. Tristan and Trishala will be igniting the flame to discuss the bonds formed in the African wild. Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire on Sunday, the 28th of February. Wild Earth Explorers. It's in your nature.
Riverbeds are a great way to find water and look for places where elephant have excavated hollows. You can then dig into the sand, and after a couple of feet you should find damp sand, which then can be squeezed out or siphoned off for water. And with water being one of our scarcest resources, it is a good idea to conserve water where and how you can.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on Wild Earth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
Look at this, the little one is up and about. Certainly hasn't had enough milk at this age. No amount of milk is enough. Oh, Corky. Too sweet. Oh, look at this. That is stunning.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Hello everyone, my name is Trishala and I am a naturalist and safari guide here in Djuma Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa. I think that the information that we provide and most importantly the questions that you ask give both you and I a really good idea of what's going on. My friend Fernando here, he's a flat-necked chameleon and I love them. They're just these gems that you manage to find in the bush.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
Welcome back, guys. Look at this gorgeous lineup we've just having here. We've just had these lions coming, leaving that waterhole, and the other bigger lioness has already disappeared behind the bush, actually in the front. And so what's been happening is that they're scouting over this area, looking for something to hunt on. So this is gonna progress into a hunt. But there's a bit of a sorry for the antenna or the part of the vehicle here. But there's a different surprise coming in. Shall I say, a couple of individuals lagging down the road. Look at that, coming down the road. The teeny tiny little ones just arriving also from the waterhole now. We're sitting at about 400 meters off the waterhole already. And when we left these lions, when we left the waterhole, we left these three little cubs at the water point actually, and it seemed like they were actually hiding them. But yeah, curiosity has taken over again. Check that approach happening, and we might get a bit of a jumping fish session here of the older cub just off to the left, where he's going to jump possibly. Oh, no jumping, just meeting. But so cool seeing that two little age group differences coming through there together. And now walking up to its mother, to the bigger lioness. So the older lioness, it looks like she's hanging back for the cubs at the moment. And she's just hanging tight to the cubs at the back, as she was with the older cubs as well. The bigger lioness, she's a bit more off to the front. She's scouting over this area, and her ears were just going flat out now, as it was sort of dropping along with her head as well. As she was scouting over the area, you can see the massive yawn on this lioness. And that's all just signs that they are going to keep on going. And at the same time, we're having this roaring thunder behind us. Also, as a big storm is approaching us from the western side. We're just checking that out as well at the same time. But so cool with this setting, how dramatic to see these lions getting active. And having that audio at the backdrop. And then at the same time, having these lions communicating with that audio that we just had there. Seeing them coming through like that. I think that other lioness has just dropped down on the road in front. Leslie, you're wondering what would threaten lion cubs on Tswalu? Leslie, you're looking at two different types of competitions that, as we spoke about it the other day as well, but looking at lions being into dramatic competition with each other, lion prides against other lion prides. So whenever they bump into each other, yes, there's trouble. The other thing is spotted hyena and brown hyena. If they find cubs that was hidden in a mountain section or a den site close to, like for instance, a given water point or so, then it gets to a point that if they find those baby cubs, they could kill them. But also the mothers have trained those cubs to stay put in those hidden positions. Listen to that, guys. That is so cool. But yeah, hidden in those positions, if they do find out about the cubs itself, they could kill them. I'm actually just going to keep quiet just so we can get that audio a bit. And then she's up on her feet again. There was quite a bit of audio actually as they're moaning and groaning there. How special is that? Little one is just moaning, saying, "Mom, I'm hungry. I'm keen for a bit more of a drink." And then she gives that comfort, showing a bit of love there to the cub. But so special to hear that audio from the cubs moaning like proper children, shall I say. And just in that formation where they're just sort of in a formation of saying, "How about I'm hungry, Mom? I'm really keen for something to eat or drink." In this case, the eating session comes from drinking and obviously suckling on the mother. But yeah, in that situation, so special to hear that audio and just see the different behaviors, and which is so special on this game reserve, being able to get that quality sightings out and about on that formation. But wherever you go in Africa, wherever you spend quality time with animals, comes down to that situation that you see this quality structures are happening. Almost want to say it's when dreams comes to reality. So special. Check how this lioness smells into the wind a bit there as well. We've got a slight bit of a breeze out of the eastern direction. And there goes the roaring thunder again. And so it comes down to that situation. This older lioness, clearly it looks like she's just staying with the cubs, guarding the cubs in that situation. Just also as hyenas could trail lions in the Kalahari, spotted hyenas from that point of view and so on. And then if the cubs lag behind too far, gets to the point that they could get killed in that formation as well. That is coming back to that other question we were talking about. But yeah, looking at the bigger picture, that's why, again, a pride of lions needs to become quite big in the Kalahari. In that situation and formation, the same as a big pack of wild dogs, a big, shall I say, a big litter group of cheetah, a big coalition of cheetah, a big coalition of lion males. Everything at the end of the day comes down to teamwork, family units, partnerships in this tough environment. So incredible. But just to get that audio in amongst it all, yes, it's special. Nathan, you're asking how long will the cubs, or how long will it take the cubs to make a kill of their own? It's taking generally a good 2 years after they've been trained up on average by lions in the wild. But in this situation, I've seen lions, young lions of about 1.5 years old and 1 year of age, basically pulling into potential hunts and so on, but obviously creating big failures for pride as they make wrong approaches at the wrongest times as well. But yeah, 18 months or so is generally the situation in the Kalahari, which I've seen with young adults making their way up. And especially if they've got extremely experienced lionesses within a pride, that's the best trainers you could get for training these cubs up to good hunting structures and features and so on. And so it gets to a point that they will literally mission up and about. And then you get lions within the pride that's a bit more dominant than others from the litter group point of view. And there's some that's a bit more eager than others in that formation. And so it gets down to that position that they want to learn. And you can see they're sticking with those, trainers in the front of the pride, in the front of a hunting event or a potential training event, constantly trying to learn a bit more. And so they train themselves within the pride with great leaders. And obviously the prides gets led by these females majority, and the males comes and go between the female prides as where the males' territories are at, and then the females' territories overlaps with those territories, and wherever those females are within the males' territories, that pride will then belong to that males, obviously, while they're passing through. But so incredible thinking about, coming back to the pride itself, how these females train their cubs up to success, to become, to make the pride obviously a bit more successful, but to become successful and training good young cubs to great success is what brings success to a pride unity in the Kalahari. It goes like that all over different ecosystems, but in the Kalahari especially, that's what needs to happen quite early at young lions' lives. Yes. Marie, you're asking if these lions will hunt at day and night. You know what, lions, overall, it doesn't matter with the desert environment or versus other environments and so on. You'll find that whenever hunger levels start talking to them quite dramatically, shall I say, they will mission at that given point. I'd say in the Kalahari, they mission a bit more to nighttime, big time, because especially at a time like now where the moon is so bright at this given point, they hunt extremely well, being a nocturnal animal generally, because lions are overall very nocturnal. But if they're very hungry, I've seen lions, on these lions specifically, hunting at daytime very effectively. So they can hunt at day and night. I've seen some of the greatest hunts at night and at day equally with the Kalahari lions. As you can see, the mountains and the hills in the backdrop of this scene that we're just looking at, and that's typically the environment that they are about to head into for hunting purposes. And so you're looking at a formation that they would be, well, the hunting strategy and technique that they would make use of in this environment is to chase animals off into rocky surfaces and corner them into the mountain sections. And that is literally how these lions would succeed. And typically looking at that is why these cubs are in this area with these lions as well, because they are in a situation where they get trained up in that, I want to say, hilly formation with the hills and the mountains and so on, because that is how they hunt in success in this environment. Lions actually have, in general in Africa, a very low successive rate, as low as about 30 to 35% in killing rate as it is. It's actually crazy to think that an apex predator has such a low successive rate in killing, for instance. But yeah, looking at the bigger picture, the Kalahari lions, I pinned them down to a good, or at least Tuvalu's lions, pinned them down to a good 45 to close to 50% in killing rate, because it's very matured lions overall in the prides. And these animals have got very great adapted skills to hunt in these mountains and areas to hunt successfully. Look at the smaller cub coming up to the bigger cub again, just grooming himself there, or grooming the other one. And just that strong bond that we were talking about previously, just looking at how they would get to that formation of taking care of each other and keeping the bond strong. And in this case, building a strong bond which is extremely important for them to hunt successfully one day when they get older, and obviously know each other's skill and ability. Look at that little eyes. The ears turning, just observing so much, trying to figure out what is going to happen next. What are these two lionesses going to take us to? Just before you guys came to us, there was this younger lioness, the mother of the older cubs. She was approaching this area very dramatically, like I said earlier, with her ears dropping down flat. And we just thought we were about to see her approaching on something. We haven't seen anything approaching the area yet. But yeah, it seems like they're going to continue going with this weather that just keeps on dropping the temperature. Just look at that. So gorgeous seeing such magnificent ancient species. And in saying that, we're going to send you back over to Trish with another beautiful environment.
Ooh, some thunder. We're also not hearing any thunder just yet, but there's lots and lots of very large cumulus clouds all over the place. One passed us overhead as well. It was very dark and a couple drops of rain. But luckily, it didn't come and open on top of us. But there's still some more cloud coming from the south. But hopefully, these clouds won't open up and drench Mpho and I. You were talking about the bonds between individuals in a lion pride with Yuan and Tswalu. And here in a hyena clan, there's also many bonds that are formed. Definitely not the same strong type of bonds that you find in prides of lions or with wild dogs. Because with hyenas, it's a lot more about alliances. But strong bonds form between mothers and youngsters, as well as between those that form close alliances with each other. I remember when Corky was matriarch, she and Pretty had a very strong bond. Pretty is a hyena that was killed during that whole clan takeover, or not long after. How, where, have no idea. We just know we hadn't seen her, and she was looking very, very injured the last time that we had seen her. And Swazi and Ndebele are her two cubs, well, sub-adults now. But she and Corky had quite a good bond. I see a similar sort of bond starting to form between Ribbon and Heart. It does not always look as warm and cozy as it does in lion prides. No allo grooming, no touching of heads and sleeping together and things like that. But still, bonds do get formed. Gaynor, you'd like to know how many do we actually have in this clan? It's about 24 individuals or so. So if we're doing the cubs, we have 7 cubs. Plus from the last lot, Swazi and Ndebele and Sutu. So that's 10 non-adults, shall we say. And then we have Corky, we have Ribbon, we have June, we have Heart, we have Intima, so that's another 5. And then the males in the clan are quite extensive, and I'm always going to forget one. Last time we did this count, I forgot Tsaka completely. So we're on 15 already. Then we have Luka, or Basaluka, we just call him Luka. Fika, these are all clan males. Comet, Koza, Kuma, Kikau, and Tsaka. And then, of course, Falco as well. So that's 23, I think. I hope I didn't leave anyone out this time. Oh, this wind is really picking up and the clouds are moving much quicker. And Tima's little bear is just popping its head out. It's just looking. Where's Mum? It's been sitting there the whole time since Ribbon came along. Before it was tucked away in the den, we couldn't see it at all. Look at it just walking, just looking over while this Corky's little one is walking all about, trying to get everyone's attention. Awesome, awesome. Lifting her head up now. Now Heart's one is going a bit crazy. So much excitement when 4 cubs are feeding. Everyone else wants to play. Anyway, I'm going to send you over to somebody, but I shouldn't really hear. I think it ends with an A though.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to And Beyond Punda, where the buffaloes have given us a bit of a run around this afternoon. They seem to be moving in a thick area, but we've come across this beautiful herd of elephants just on the other ridgeline from us. And there's some beautiful lights on them. You can see them all slowly moving together. It's almost like they're walking in single file. And as they're moving, there's quite a big drainage line between us and these elephants, and they seem like they've actually almost stopped feeding and just walking now. And a little bit up this drainage line is a beautiful big water hole where I think these elephants are most likely going. They might have been in this more dense area feeding for the better half of the day, and now as that sun is starting to set, these elephants are most likely going to get their evening drink. I mean, elephants, they'll often drink out of any puddle that they might find, but they do often prefer the fresher water, so the bigger water holes. And if you've been lucky enough to see elephants come down to drink, it's quite amazing when you, with their trunks, they're quite delicate and they often wade into the water a little bit. And as they get further into the water, they reach their trunks out far into the middle of the water, and they actually almost test the water. Like they'll suck up water with their trunk and then spray it out and almost test and see if that water is good to drink. And then from there they'll proceed to have their evening drink. But it's a beautiful scene that we got here. We watching this herd of probably plus minus 20 elephants or so on the ridge line, and far in the distance I can see the Indian Ocean sand dunes, which is quite an amazing view from up here. And then there's a giraffe just not too far from us on the other side of this bush, but I might need to drive a little bit further forward to see if we can get a view of this giraffe and the elephants. But they seem like they are moving much closer to that water, so it's definitely going to be worthwhile to spend a little bit of time with these elephants as they move towards water. It's a beautiful scene, as I was describing earlier. But let me try and move a little bit. Just bear with me for a couple of seconds. And try get a there we can maybe even get the giraffe into picture now. You can just see the head of that giraffe feeding on the tops of the trees. And with all this rain we've had here on Punda, there's beautiful new shoots of grass, new shoots of leaves, and you can imagine that giraffe with such a long neck. It's quite amazing that it can just reach those tops of the branches where no other animals can, except for the elephants that are in the distance. But it's amazing to see how that giraffe uses his tongue to wrap around the branches and feed. It does look like it's a male giraffe. I can see those big ossicles or ossicones on top of his head, and he's also got no hair on top of those ossicones. And this male giraffe would use those to fight for territories. So not to fight for territories, sorry, to fight for females. And they'll often do what we call necking, it's an amazing thing to see. Massive giraffes knocking heads together, trying to see if they can defeat the other male, so to the rights of mating with the females in this area. And I mean, you can see that the elephants, giraffe, this is a beautiful lush area for animals to move through. And we've seen some tracks of lots of rhinos. We did even see a rhino just before we found these elephants. So there's lots of animals moving in and around this area where we are now. With this drainage line, you can imagine a lot of the water running down into the bottom of the drainage line. A lot of water, so a lot of grass growing, a lot of leaves and all that. And just a beautiful view, as you can see now, just looking out over and beyond Punda. But as the sun is starting to go behind the clouds, it is a beautiful scene, and it's starting to get a little bit chilly even here on Punda. But we are going to spend a little bit of time in this area. We know that there are some buffaloes around. We've seen the tracks, so we know where they are. Maybe they're just feeding in a thicker area, and we might just wait a little bit and see if they do come out. And just like elephants, buffaloes will often go for an evening drink just before that sun does set. So it's going to be worthwhile spending a little bit of time around the water and maybe see and wait what comes down to drink. We also know that there is a female leopard that often is in this area, so that will be an added bonus for us if we can find that leopard for everybody at home.
When on safari, there's nothing better than an evening spent under the stars chatting around a fire, with the sounds of the wild all around you. If you sign up to be a Wild Earth Explorer, you can build your own memories by joining our guides for regular fireside chats. Subscription payments can be made by PayPal, credit card, and now bank transfer. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi Sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner, and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
My name is Lauren, and I'm currently working in Djuma Private Game Reserve here in South Africa. I love answering your questions during the live safaris. It's my favorite part. It feels like you're on the vehicle with me, and I'm able to teach you exactly what you want to know. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, then you need to register on our website. Once registered, you must go to the live safari page and ask your question below the live feed.
The croc is still holding another one there. It's holding from the hindquarters. I would really want the wildebeest cross. Is it trying? The croc is holding the tail. It's holding tight. Oh no. Goodness me. Lucky, lucky wildebeest. You have another day to live.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Welcome back, everybody. So yeah, we are still sitting in the same spot where these elephants were, but they have moved a little bit further into the drainage line, into this little ridge that we are sitting on. And it seems like they were all walking in a single file. So that means that they've stopped feeding. They now got one thing on their mind, and that's that bigger water hole that I was talking about a little bit earlier. They most likely, go in there to have their evening drink. And a lot of the animals, rhinos, buffalo, elephants, will often go down for an evening drink just before that sun sets. And then they'll most likely drink and then continue feeding into the evening, where they'll then most likely find a spot to settle. But the elephants, being as big as they are, they don't often settle too much. They'll slow right down into the evening. And from there they'll continue feeding, maybe in a thicker area. Just because they are so big, they're moving constantly. They're gonna have to are going to have to continue feeding throughout the night because they do move such vast distances. They're always going to have to keep that energy up. And being an elephant, they're what we call a hind gut fermenter. Unlike buffaloes, which are ruminants, where they have 4 stomachs and they chew what we call their cud, they don't often get all the necessary nutrients out of the food that they're feeding off. If you've ever seen elephant dung, you'll often see lots of fruits, tree bark, leaves, grass, things like that. So they don't get all that nutrients that they need from the trees and when they feed. So that's why they also constantly have to feed. Like this giraffe we're looking at now, if you've ever been lucky enough to go on safari and see, it's quite amazing to see giraffes when they regurgitate their food, when they regurgitate that cud ball. You can often actually see it going up their long neck, back into their mouth, where they'll then slowly start to chew it again. Make sure they get all the necessary nutrients out before they then swallow it again and passes through those 4 stomachs of theirs. There's beautiful colors here at the moment. I mean, with it being summer, there's lots of fruits around. The marula trees, it's marula season now, so there's lots of marula fruits around. And this area where we are now in the southern parts of and beyond Phinda, it's a very good area for marulas. And these elephants, they often like to feed off those marulas. But even the grass, there's a lot of grass around now that these elephants will be feeding off. And they'll often just spend lots of time in the southern parts of the reserve after rain, because they know that it's not too harsh on their teeth, and they don't have to break it down like they would branches and leaves and things. So it's very soft. There's also a lot of moisture in the grass at the moment, so they're not going to have to need to mission to water all that often. They can get a lot of their moisture out from the grass around this area where we are. I can hear those frogs starting to call off in the distance, most likely from that bigger water hole where we're going to start to head in the next little bit and see if those elephants haven't started to go and head towards that water. And it has been quite a hot day here on and beyond Phinda. So, I mean, being a big elephant, they might even splash some water on themselves to cool them down, and then from there they might just drink quite a bit and then continue feeding into the drainage line. Just going to keep quiet for a little bit and have a listen out if you can hear any noise. It is quite a quiet evening here. Just listen out if you can hear any noises around. I can just hear a couple of birds calling, rattling testicular. I heard a Birchall's cuckoo. There's a black-crowned chugra calling in the distance, a beautiful call. So there are some noises, but not too many noises around here. But I think maybe let's see if we can slowly start to head towards the water. It's probably about a 5-minute drive or so from where we are, and let's see if we can maybe go find those elephants at the water. So yeah, we're gonna head to that water. We're gonna send you over to Tshwalu and see what they've got.
Welcome back to Tshwalu. These lion cubs have just come up to this big lioness, and yes, there was so much interaction happening where there were a lot of kissing and moaning and growling, and lots of things are happening where they're actually still moaning moaning to drink a bit more and suckle on this lioness, as she was just literally giving them the cold shoulder. You can see that even the other bigger lioness, or the other adult lioness, is just tucked into the grassland there as well now. I wonder if this was just not a training session proper happening, where they were literally just training the cubs, or in the, shall I say, rather in the showcase of just, this is how we should approach this area, this is how we do it safely, and this is how it gets to a point that we approach this area when we're looking for something to eat or hunt and so on. Look at those little cubbies in amongst the grasses there. But yeah, then once the female's given them the cold shoulder, when they settled in here, the cubbies have come across to the spot where they also just settled in. I still don't think the activity level is done though. I think they're going to continue going, and we have literally just had a dramatic drop of temperature where it's dropped at least 7 to 8 degrees actually in this formation. As you can still hear the thunder roaring quite a bit in this area, and what's happening is that the clouds and the rain is just building up so much, blowing in from the west, and you can hear it still going at it for quite a strong voice coming from the skies there. But yeah, very cool seeing rains still coming through the Kalahari at this given point, and so on. Yeah, so looking at conditions like this, it's really incredible for animals in the Kalahari to hunt at conditions like this, as it is, where these animals can gain quite a lot from energy consumption, that they're not burning that much of a huge energy chunk, if I can put it that way, as when they're getting active and mobile when they're hunting and so on. See, this lioness has just picked up her head again on the side as she's smelling into the wind. See, all of this, all in all, is a good training session for these cubs to get to know their environment and their surroundings, and just knowing the ins and outs of a Kalahari lion. But yeah, both of the lionesses' heads suddenly picked up as the breeze are coming out of the, suddenly turned out from the rain direction, and we literally had our first drop falling onto us just now. But yeah, it looks like that weather is coming in from the south actually quite dramatically. But yeah, looking at, we'll try to stick with these animals as long as we can. Obviously, once it's going to start pouring down on us, we might need to leave. But we're going to try hang on tight as long as we can. It does look like it's just this one cloud formation that's coming over, and so on. But yeah, we might need to cover the equipment for a tiny bit, as the rain might pull over. There is a few drops falling here, but we're on the edge of this dark strip of cloud coming over. But yeah, just once again, looking at this lioness's head's just picking up again. The older lioness has just dropped down again. Lovely yawn, and out for the count. Yeah, so every now and again, the heads will pick up and look up at the surroundings as the breeze picks up as well. Just smelling new smells, new scent coming into the area, trying to figure out what is in their surroundings around them at the moment. And from a safety point of view, is it still safe for them, as other big animals or other predators could be walking into the area that could be potentially causing a threat. That little cubby. With this beautiful view of this little cubby, we're going to send you back over to Trish, as she's just left the hyena den.
This is yet again where the day works out perfectly. And you're at the hyena den, and then you find Lalapa at Treehouse Dam. There's nothing quite like it, is it? She's been so predictable with her movements to Treehouse Dam, or from Treehouse Dam, and then she moves north from here. I know the visuals, not the best, but seeing part of our princess is definitely better than seeing none of her.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
She is just stunning. So she was at the dam, and then she slowly walked. So now we're actually on the Hyena Den Road, and she's going to continue to move from here, probably either pop out on Rebecca's Road or on Quarantine. She's become quite predictable with her paths. And everybody's been looking for leopard today, so you can hear lots of vehicles around, and we probably aren't going to be able to spend too much time with her. Now, she's been walking from the dam, but she's just sat down now. But thankfully, she's not in the big bushy bits of the block. Oh, there we go. There's some spots. There are some spots. I'm happy to see that. Now just pick up your head and look at us, girl. Princess T giving herself a bit of a scratch. Well, she's looking out to the south, which is not what I expected. Let's see what she does. Everyone's so happy to see her. So am I. So am I. I've been too spoiled lately. I mean, we've had excellent leopard sightings just in these last 2 weeks that we've been here. And yesterday with no leopards, I felt sick. Yes, I was sick. Now I'm cured. And she's going back to the south towards Treehouse Dam. Interesting. Like I said, lots of vehicles, so you might see a vehicle in the shot or portion of it. Oh, that's very cute. There's lots of bits of buffalo dung all over the place at the moment because the buffalo had moved through here. Remember I told you that I'd seen lots of evidence of it at the den, and maybe that's why we hadn't seen the hyenas for the last day and a bit. And leopards will often roll in dung of any description, preferably herbivore dung, to kind of mask their smell. Oh, she's too cute. Things are really queuing up here, so hopefully we'll be able to stick around for another segment. In fact, I'm sure we will, as other vehicles join us. But I don't expect that we'll be able to stay for too long, so let's just lap it up. So gorgeous. She's behind, she's looking up at the tourist vehicle. Lisa, you'd like to know if this is her territory that she's in there. We're going to get a nice walk by Lisa. We'll chat in a moment. Let's just enjoy this. There's my girl. Oh, bless you. And off she goes. Off to the north. All right, we're going to have to move around. So let me quickly turn here. Lisa, just to answer your question quickly. This is sort of the boundary of her territory. And she and Shidulu sometimes knock together here, and then even up towards Quarantine, but it's not particularly defined, and it's a little bit hazy. And with Tlalamba, she tends to be all over the place. Her territory is not very well defined, but this particular line, she and Shidulu, this is where they meet. Anyway, let's try and catch up with her.
February is the month of love, and nature is no exception. Tristan and Trishala will be igniting the flame to discuss the bonds formed in the African wild. Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire on Sunday, the 28th of February. Wild Earth Explorers. It's in your nature.
The reason why we see that wildebeest by himself is because he's a male, or a bull, as we typically would call him. And what he does is that he marks and defends an area. Essentially, he is looking for the ultimate piece of land or prime property. Needs to have good grazing, needs to have a water source close by. And not too far away from here, there's a sickle bush thicket that would provide just enough shelter from the wind and the rain.
My name is Steve, and one of my favorite things at Wild Earth is getting questions from you. The type of questions that I really like are those ones that really help us to unpack and understand and really integrate the ecological knowledge and fully appreciate the importance that animals such as these Cape buffalo bring to the ecosystem. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you're going to have to register on the website. But once registered, just head on over to the live safari page and enter your question under the live feed. Hello, Mama. Just checking us out, everybody. There's no aggression here. Very relaxed. A herd of elephants moving around your car like that is truly, truly magical.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
Hi, I'm Kyle, and I come to you live every day here from Tswalu, Kalahari in South Africa. My favorite animal in the Kalahari has to be the aardvark. Its unique appearance, its ethology, and as well as ecology within this vast ecosystem is amazing, and something that I have been really lucky to experience on foot here at Tswalu.
Catch up with the guides daily here on Wild Earth.
She is slowly making her way north, but that's great for her, so she's not taking us on a wild goose chase. She's being excellent. She's enjoying herself with the bits of dung all over the road, I must say. I think maybe she's on the hunt this evening, preparing with a bit of masking of her own scent. Oh, we've been getting lucky with some drive-bys. Or walk-bys, rather. She doesn't drive, I do. There she goes. It's a tight space, so she's actually, where she just turned her head and looked in now, that's looking towards the hyena den. So that gives you an idea of just how close we are. Beautiful, beautiful. Well, vehicles coming through again, so we're gonna let them go ahead. Ian, you'd like to know if territories ever get shared? Territories between mums and daughters can often be shared, especially when the daughter is just trying to acquire territory. Just gonna see part of a vehicle come through there. It's because she's just lost them. We've just lost her. There we go. So when a mother has female cubs, what she does is donate part of her territory to those female cubs. So for a short time while her female cub is trying to establish that territory, it can be shared, but for a short time. They may have an amicable relationship if they see each other within, kind of that fuzzy lines of that territory. They may be amicable, but not necessarily, because they've already established their own territory, so they don't have to be nice to their mother, or mother be nice to their daughter. In fact, a good example of that was when Tristan had the sighting with Kuchava and Tandi. Because Kuchava would have inherited, look, she's looking towards the hyena den now. And there's some impala. Quite sensed her. It was very half-hearted snort there. We can still see the impala, but they're going to get a little bit confused because the impala know that they're near a den, a hyena den, so they've already got scent of predator, so they're going to get a little bit confused. which is going to bode well for Tlalamba. So this is now a waiting game. So either she could continue to stalk this impala out of our sight, but then we'll know obviously if she gets it, or she can decide that she's going to give up on this hunt and keep on moving, in which case we'll probably lose her. But we can't do both of those things. So I suggest we sit tight and hope that she is successful in her hunting. Can you see through there? So we can hope she's successful at the risk of possibly losing her. But that's far better than distracting her or distracting the prey somehow. And allowing her to lose a meal for the night. So we're just going to sit tight and watch. I was telling you about that. We were talking about territories. I was telling you about Tristan's sighting with Thandi, Cub, and Kuchava, and how that was a great example. Because Kuchava is Thandi's cub, or was Thandi's cub rather, and Thandi used to use Chitwa, and that's Chitwa's part of her territory. We just hadn't seen her there for a while. So it may not have been a part of her territory that she had frequently marked and kept strong borders there. But when she went back into that area, Kuchava is in that area, but they have a fairly amicable interaction. Mothers don't donate portions of their territory to male cubs because males disperse away from their natal area. So all we can see are the impala now. And we're just going to have to wait. I don't think she's terribly close just yet. It definitely does feel tense, but I felt it a lot more tense before. So I don't think she's terribly close. I think she's sussing the situation out. That's still going to take a bit of time. I can hear the hyenas. Can you hear them? I can still see the impalas. Oh, you can't hear the squealing. I can hear the hyena cubs squealing, but no sight of Tlalamba, and just one impala to look at. This thick, long grass is so good for her. So they'll only be working off smell, really, the impalas, in order to detect her. And she's masked herself, at least a little bit. So I hope it's good for her. But I'm not feeling that tenseness, that proper thick atmosphere just yet. But you never know, hey? She could just come out of nowhere. Leopards, of course, as you would know, are ambush predators, so she's going to get really, really close before she pounces. Sometimes that can take a very, very long time. They didn't move far at all after they detected something was off. But also they've got a hyena den to their east and Tlamba to their west, so where they're going to run to. Often if you know there's a leopard around, it's a good idea to listen to the cisticolas and the francolins. They can give them away. I'm not hearing anything. Jerome, you'd like to know what the longest I've ever waited for a hunt was? That would be Tundi, and that would be the entire drive. So, 3 hours, and I still didn't see her be successful. I've just had some elephants shouting behind us too. Our impalas have now moved out of our view. And I think that she might actually move on from this because it was just by chance that she came across these impalas. She was not looking to hunt straight away. So I would think that she's probably going to make her way up to quarantine, where she can be quite successful. Impala have definitely moved. All right. Seems like we're taking a bit of a unanimous decision. Cars are moving. We think that she's moved off. Okay, I can hear but they're not alarm calling. I can hear cisticolas, rattling cisticolas, but they're not alarm calling. Okay, let's not get into the block. But we'll just move around and alongside the road, hope that she comes out, or hope that she's successful. Now we're going to send you over to Swallow while we do this.
Welcome back, folks. Can you believe it? We've literally had that thunderstorm passing over. There's still quite a lot of clouds in the air, but there's some sunlight casting on these cubs now. And it's crazy, they just moved off the road. There's been so much interaction between mothers and cubs here at the moment. Just loud voices of cubs coming through. Look at that, just so awesome. Loud voices of cubs coming through, moaning at their mothers, trying to suckle a bit more. Look at that interaction between mother and cub. So incredible. So yeah, you can see some of them are still suckling there. And it's crazy that to see that the older cubs, in fact, are trying to get a bit of a drink there as well. And they definitely weaned from their own mother. But yeah, you can see they're trying to get a bit of a drink out there from the event. So they just started moving off from the road, and it looked like they were going to head over into a good hunting posture from here furthermore. But yeah, then the cubs' voices just started singing like a choir, and literally just mother, looked like the mother wasn't really going to respond, but then eventually gave in to the cubs, started drinking. This little one just looking at us here again. So just while we're looking at this face of this little cub, earlier on there was a question about when lions, or if lions hunt at night and day in the Kalahari specifically. There, just below the eyes, you can actually see a very nice line underneath the eyes, a white line. And that white line is adding up to that question specifically, because you're looking at that beautiful white lines that reflects to the back of the eye socket where the retina is situated at, and that light that reflects from the moon and the stars from the white line into the back of the eye socket, into the edge of the retina, that reflects the light back out of the eyes. And they've got more rod cells as opposed to cones. Cones is basically for color vision. So being a nocturnal animal, they look at gray and white vision mostly. And so that white lines is explaining why this animal is mostly active at night and so on. But yeah, so cool to see all these features that these animals have, and so coming through for survival. Interesting to see this little cubby's face developing still quite a lot as well, and just coming up to adulthood slowly but surely. See the older cub on the left hand side, very pronounced white lines underneath the eyes there, as we spoke about it. But yeah, very interesting to see all of that happening. Looks like our lioness has just got fed up of all the cubs, and she's moved off as well. Andrea, you are wondering if cubs get scared off by lots of lightning and thunder showers and storms and everything. You know what? They do get afraid of or do become afraid of heavy lightning storms, things that looks quite dramatic, that could even create fires out and about in the mountains and the grassy patches and so on. And but in that situation, when cubs and young lions are in that conditions, they often get to a situation where they get hidden in a safe position by the mothers and well taken care of by the pride composition, working together towards that goal. But young lions, yeah, it doesn't really make a difference between them and adult lions as well. All of them will become afraid if lightning becomes to a certain extent where it's going to, I want to say, blow their cover, and there's not much hiding point in positions and so on, but it generally gets to that situation that they would get well away from that conditions well before something bad happens. But again, you must remember, these animals have been born into these conditions and so on. So that's the only thing they know. They don't know the inside of a house, for instance. The only thing they know is the underside of a bush, or like a place to hide at and so. And as we speak about safety of the pride, and just looking at safe conditions and so on, there you could see that lioness just popped up again as she was looking around in the area, trying to figure out if it's safe. Possibly there could have been animals walking off towards the water point by now, as it's a good time for them to possibly get to a good hunting situation as they were progressing further east, looking for something to eat earlier on, trying to go through hunting training processes for the cubs and everything like that as well. It comes down to a situation that they are still scouting, just making sure, maintaining safety in this environment, as well as scouting for food resources. Nice to see that composition of them all been spread out quite nicely now. Cubs all had a good drink, and like a baby just drank from its mother. It's in a condition where all of them just had a good, warm, happy belly and just ducked down. The older cubs, obviously, it was just that one that was trying to get a bit of a drink there as well from the female, which is not the mother for those older cubs. But yeah, sometimes they'll still try to go at it. And obviously their teeth has developed a bit, so those older cubs would definitely not be drinking. Nicanova, you're asking do the bigger paws affect the hunt? Sorry, FC, can you just repeat that question again? Okay, so Nicanova, you're asking, do the bigger paws affect the speed of the lions in a hunt? That's a very good question, because the thing is that thinking about it, you would think, yes, it could be quite a clumsy hunter or running at a like an unstable situation, trying to get up to its speed. You know what? Being a desert lion, they are completely designed and adapted to deal with the sandy, loose sand conditions, especially in the dunes and vegetation, as well as they run through vegetation. The big paws gives them extremely good grip, but it doesn't affect them at all. In fact, it helps them speeding up in this environment, because if you look at like an average lion in Africa, the normal bloodlines that you get all over Africa, they could easily get to a situation where they could struggle a bit in the beginning to survive in this area, just because the bodies are not looking the same with those smaller paws hunting in different areas. But yeah, on average, you're looking at a diameter of lion paws, on average, roughly, basically, you're looking at about, in length from the back lobes all the way to the front tip, it's about close to 10, on average 10 centimeters or so. But in the Kalahari, I've seen male lion tracks with paws about the length, about close to, you're looking about a half a ruler in length. So it's crazy, I think, actually thinking about it. I've seen male lion tracks that looks bigger than most of your big hooved animals, as it is. So easily in a length of about close to 15 to 17 centimeters. It's crazy thinking about it. And like if I place my hand full on, or any grown man hand on the ground, it clears the entire diameter of that hand being spread out on the surface. So yes, Kalahari lions are full on adapted with those big paws to maintain the speed that they need to hunt successfully within this environment. Just look at that gorgeous face. Guys, that is so beautiful, seeing that little youngster like that. Look at the tufts of hair starting to develop on this little youngster's ears, actually, as well, around the neck as well. You will see that there's quite a bit of fur starting up, coming off at the base edge of the neck. And on the top of the head, there's a little tuft of hair developing up there on the top. And that obviously makes this little cubby a male. Females, if you can't really dictate whether it's a male or a female on cubs, just because of the genitals and the testicles being so small, or not really being able to see that, to be seen that easily, you literally can look at the head shapes and sizes between male cubs and female cubs. The head of a male cub is much bigger, especially at this age of this particular one we're looking at, much bigger as opposed to your female cubs. And that's easily dictated, especially among the desert lions or the Kalahari lions. Extremely cool to see that dark amount of fur on those bodies as well at a very young age, as you generally get to see that very dark furs on the Kalahari lions. You do get normal lions in Africa with dark tint of fine hair coming all over the body as well, but this particular one, so cool. So cool to see that skin coloration of that fine tint of dark hair covering these Kalahari lions. I'm going to send you back over to Trish. She's still looking for her leopard.
She has given us the slip, or rather I think we gave her ample opportunity to give us the slip. The impala have moved off. Just seen hyena cubs wandering about near the impala. So I'm quite sure that she is moved out of this block, or at least stopped hunting those impalas. So we're going to slowly move towards quarantine. Now, I spoke to you about Tlalamba and Shidulu's boundaries, their territories. You'll often find, especially right on a territory line, if there's one animal that comes through, the other animal will come through pretty soon. If not tonight, maybe tomorrow. Hang on. I'm not sure if I'm seeing things. I'm not. Could just be a branch. Yes, that's exactly what it is. It's a leopard branch. It just was curled up like a tail. I find this very, very fun. I like the feeling, this feeling that there is a leopard somewhere around here. Within a few hundred meters of me, or us, there's this leopard. And we can't see it. And that's the beauty. You could be an ancient person who's walking through here and there could be a leopard around you. You wouldn't even know it.
Come in.
Or, much like us, we could think there's a leopard around and she's already left us. Kept on moving. Tara, you'd like to know what the success rate of leopard hunts are? It's around 20%. So it's not very high. A lone lioness is a little less than that. Also, it depends on the type of prey that they're going to take. Wild dogs have the highest success rate of predators, or at least of the predators we see here. I think the black-footed cat has the highest success rate of predators in Africa. Mammal predators. If we're talking just predators, then dragonfly is pretty up there. That's not what you're thinking about, I'm sure. But some success rates can be really, really low. So lion and leopard are pretty low. It can fluctuate between 15%, about 20%, up to 30%, when the whole pride is involved in a hunt. That's still fairly low. And then if you imagine the amount of times we've watched hunts and how many times have they been successful? Not often. And for each one that we see where we don't watch the hunt and we just see an animal hoisted into a tree and a leopard feasting, for all those times there are many unsuccessful attempts that we don't get to see. Now, she couldn't have walked all the way up to quarantine just that quickly. It's just that I think that given the darkness and that she wants to hunt, it'd be the most sensitive thing to wait up there and see what happens. Anyway, let me send you back over to Swallow and their lions.
Welcome back to Tswalu. As you can see, these lions have just started popping up their heads again. There's quite a bit of a range of behavioral changes that happened throughout this afternoon with this pride. And you can see it's literally just as they starting to wake up again, a nice big yawn coming through after the suckling process we had earlier on. But looking at these conditions, I mean, it's incredible thinking about how the different changes, being able to witness it, for us being able to sit and watch this actually happening throughout the different conditions, throughout the different changes happening right throughout, with the rain, with the tiny bit of sunlight we had, and now suddenly there's a breeze picking up, and suddenly there's a few more smells that blows into the area, and suddenly, like I wish you could have seen it happening, like it was at like the speed of light where all the heads popped up at the same time looking to the northern direction. So there must be a scent or a smell of some animal that came through the area just now. We can obviously not smell it yet. We won't be able to smell it easily. There's a lot of animals that you can't really smell that often from a human point of view, unless they have urinated or defecated in a certain spot for marking territories and so on. But yeah, very cool looking at these lions slowly but surely getting there. There's two older lionesses, like obviously the adult lionesses just perked up their heads again. On the side, and up she goes. Bit of a scratch, bit of a grooming session happening there. You can see the other lioness's head just popped out on the top left corner of the screen, where she's just behind the grasses there as well, just scouting over the area while she's sort of like on guard, looking at the conditions in the area as the new scents and smells comes through. Beg, you're asking, can female lions still get pregnant when they are nursing? You know what? You'll have to have a male lion, for instance, coming through to the female with her cubs, for instance, and it's going to get to a point where the cubs are going to have to be killed because it might have been from a different male's offspring, and that'll force her straight back into estrus immediately. But no, lionesses with cubs, at least within lower than a good 15, 16 months, will never be really able to mate at that same given time, because her whole focus is on those cubs and actually raising them to adulthood successfully and safely. And so it's literally in a condition that, no, it can't really be happening. It's mostly when she either have raised those cubs successfully into the pride and she doesn't really need to focus so much on them anymore, then it gets to a point that she can go over to mating. But apart from that, she gives her whole life to these cubs, training them up how to hunt, how to kill, how to be a lion, basically. And it gets to that point that they're very protective and oversensitive, I want to say, when they have cubs. So no mating behavior really happens. You know what? The odd thing could possibly happen, where you get to a situation where she doesn't want the cubs to get hurt and she might give in to the male, but it will not be a successful mating situation happening there. And the pride will stand up against that given male that tries to force his will on top of that female at that given point. So there's quite a lot of up and down behavior happening, where there's a lot of shifting happening every now and again with them coming through. Andreas, you're actually commenting there, saying that it's very fascinating watching lions' ears when they're picking up on scent of animals in the area. And I couldn't agree more. That is just so incredible, watching animals' ears, and especially facial expressions, as well as head and body language goes along with that as well. Thinking about how that all comes together in that formation of how animal communication happens in amongst an environment. But again, the reactions happening when there's that first scent that was picked up from a specific event that's currently going to go down in a certain area and so on. It's really, really, really special. especially when you talk about cats overall, not just lions, but talking about cheetah and the other cats and so on. Like, there's so much visual communication that happens in around an amount in an area like that when they move through given areas, like from dense areas to plains, open sections like this given spot we're looking at here. Constantly, especially group structured animals communicating through visual communication. Especially if they need to avoid confrontation from other predators or any other dangerous situations or so. Comes down to that point that there's a lot of visual structures that needs to happen, as in communicating a lot with each other in that formation. Keeping the sounds down. And there's the thunder. It's raising its voice again. Ian, you asking if the paws of lions get sores from the sand particles sometimes. You know what, Ian, it's actually so interesting when you look at, like, I've been very fortunate before, previously at certain given times, working on a game reserve like this for such a long time, that we've worked and dealt with lions from a conservational point of view, as in the moment you get to dart animals. I've worked a lot with lions in darting formations, obviously just monitoring lions, checking their conditions and looking what, like, especially drawing blood samples and things. But bottom line, when you physically get to handle them, do you know that those paws below is so rock hard almost? I mean, it's not like a rock, but it's hard. So stepping on a like, let's say a stone or a particle or something, they don't even feel it. They literally, if it's like a spine from a very sharp thorn or the devil's thorn plants in this given area, when the seeds dries out, it's a very sharp, thorny structure that happens there. And that could sometimes, like, just give them a bit of a bit of a surprise, shall I say. But that paws are designed for environments like this. See, the thing is, us as humans, we often get to a point where we, like, want to think about nature through our bodies, if I can put it that way. What we feel and how we experience it all, and how we sense things in nature, shall I put it that way. Whereas these animals are tough-made animals. Like, if you just think about the fur of lions, for instance, as well, and many other areas of animals in certain environments that they come through and so on, it comes down to a situation that they have got very rough fur, very rough paws, very, very tough structured bodies, shall I say. That comes down to that formation that they are truly made to survive in an environment like this, where they truly belong. And it comes down to that situation that is what makes these animals so unique to a given environment like this, is that they are specifically designed to live in an area like this. And that is what makes them surviving so much. This is why you can also not place an area or introduce an animal in a certain area where they don't really belong. It truly comes down to that situation that whatever you introduce into a new game reserve in a certain given ecosystem or whatever, you got to look at what is the background history of that particular environment. You got to look at what has occurred previously there and what is going to survive in that area, because whatever the way the body looks like and how tough the body is designed and made and so on, gets to a point that they basically will survive in that area because they truly belong in that environment. Look at that gorgeous, gorgeous structure of clouds formations coming together. We've got a bit of the last bit of sunlight we're having for last bit of late afternoon light coming through, casting a bit on the left-hand side of the screen of the clouds there. And then the beautiful dark cumulus clouds combining up together, which is obviously the way that we've had in Emmanuel. And just on the top side of the clouds, looking at the top corner side there, as we're pointing it out there, you can see a beautiful towering cumulonimbus cloud, which is getting born out of these cumulus clouds coming out in a combination. Just so beautiful, just seeing all of that coming in together. The Kalahari once again not disappointing us with a fantastic scenery structure. We're going to send you over to Trish.
Oh, two scrubheads have decided to abscond from the scene. You can see we're in infrared. Let's see if I just roll forward. Oh, it's not rolling. We're in infrared. I'll just move a little bit, see if we'll get these guys. Oh, and they're running off. They're just... There we can see. Two eyes. So you can tell that when you have a really nice look at the eye structure like this, it's going to be a little bit out of our IR reach now. But when they're side on, you can only see one eye. And even when we're directly behind them, it's difficult to see their eyes with IR, but in the day you can see two dome shapes that come out and stick out, and that's because they need a really good 360 view of what's going on around them. So their eyes are positioned on either side of their heads. So they were just sitting here for a little bit, and I like when we get to see them like that, because most often when I've seen them with leverets or little scrub hairs, it's in a moment like that where you just sit and watch them for a little bit, and then maybe little tiny ones come out. All right, off we go. I'm now going to go to Western Quarantine, where Talamba likes to move towards also. There's also lots of little creatures on that side. I often find chameleons and spiders and stuff there too. And scrub hairs. Even the genet, the one time that we found the genet a couple days back, it was in a similar area, not too far from Western Quarantine. Oh, bush babies as well, but what I did want to say to you was I saw a whole lot of fireflies the other day when we closed with that box spider that was building its web. But they're really difficult to get on camera. And they really like drainages. And unfortunately here on Western Quarantine we don't have any. Well, there is one at the end, but it's very, very small. It's not a nice, steep drainage, and that's where you'll find the fireflies quite often. So one of these evenings, in fact, preferably when there's still a bit of light so we can be in color, that would be a really nice thing to share with you. Excited about bush babies? So am I. I feel like there used to be a time when we used to see them so often. It was the best sighting of a bush baby I've ever had was outside my room here at camp, when one just jumped in front of the trees, or it was jumping along and then jumped in front of the tree directly in front of our rooms, and especially in front of my room. So you just looking straight at us, wide-eyed, maybe 2 meters away. No need for a torch or anything like that, because the light from the room was illuminating it. It was great. And even around or on drive, when we're driving around in the evenings, we see them a lot, far more often than we do now. And I wonder why. Either way, I will definitely keep an eye out. They're quite easy to spot with the spotlight because their eyes are so big and they're quite close together. Anyway, see, we're getting a bit of rain now. We're going to send you over to Swalu.
Welcome back to that gorgeous view that we're literally looking at. So we left you with that view and we just couldn't stop talking about these clouds just being in such a gorgeous formation. And, excuse me, so as you can see, the different colors coming through there on these clouds and quite a lot of dark patches below the clouds as well. Now these clouds, as I've mentioned earlier, being the cumulus clouds, and that cloud in the sun actually, that's on the left-hand side of the screen, that's basically just covered by these cumulus clouds in the front, but that particular cloud system is that towering cumulonimbus clouds. But very interesting, below these clouds you can see what you call the dew point temperature, dew point level, and that's where the masses of water conglomeration happens through a lot of positives and negatives that moves up and down through these cloud systems, and that's what creates hail, lightning and rain in amongst this cloud formation that you can see. But a lot of that clouds are full of water, as you can see there, and you can see it becomes even darker towards the right hand side, but a lot of stunning formations that we're looking at there. And we got a tiny bit of the mountains on the far eastern side of the reserve sticking out there below the clouds as well, in a dramatic bit of sunlight coming out there as well. But yeah, as we had quite a bit of cirrus stratus and cirrus clouds this morning, look at that lightning strike that just came through there. Quite a bit of that's happening this morning through that strong winds we had this morning, and then suddenly all of this dramatic structure is just blown in all over this environment. But yeah, while we're sitting with these sleepy lions that's just gone over to almost dreaming from all of the activity that we had throughout this afternoon, we're suddenly seeing all of this dramatic amount of images coming through of these stunning clouds, and it's just roaring thunder continuously going on. Such cute, gorgeous scenery, and just stunning lightning coming out of those clouds. If we keep on watching, we would actually see some more lightning coming through there. So what I want to do is, as we're looking at these stunning cumulus formations, I want to just keep up the sound a bit quiet, and we turn up the voice of nature, and we just keep on listening to that sounds with that gorgeous lightning that just struck again as well. So yeah, let's admire nature a bit. So as you can see, the rain starting on the right hand side. Now that's lightning that's coming straight down out of the clouds. That is what creates that the positives and negatives that moves up and down, working up against each other in the cloud formations. That's what creates that sharp, straight down lightning formations out of the clouds. And so that is why the rain literally started falling and pouring out of that cloud formation from the dew point level that we're looking at there. But look at that stunning colors coming out of that rain formation. I hope we got to hear quite a bit of lightning as we adore nature. But look at that change in the coloration of the cloud formations as well. Like, I mean, as we had a huge amount of wind blowing quite dramatically this morning, and it obviously created a lot of dust pollution in fine particles, which we can't really see that well always with our naked eye. But eventually, as the sun starts setting in the west, gets to a point that that strong dust line that the whole light needs to cover through all the way is what reflects this beautiful lights on the clouds. As the sand is red, and it gives that beautiful reddish colors of the light coming through on the clouds there. But look at that, as how quickly it changed. As we looked at the dew point level, we looked at the lightning starting to happen, and then suddenly all of that beautiful rain is pouring out of those clouds. It's amazing looking at that over the eastern sections to our position. So gorgeous, and you can see they've built suddenly to such a dramatic amount that it's eventually going to become like just one massive towering cumulonimbus cloud starting up. And you can see there's a drifting cloud coming in the top right corner of the screen, just coming over just in front as well. And as there's more and more clouds rolling in, the rain will just start becoming stronger, and even more so over building up to a bigger storm. Also stunning to see that beautiful camel thorn trees in the foreground in front of them, with that dramatic image of the Kalahari, with that stunning thunderstorm. Nature at its best.
Hi, I'm Sue. I'm from South Africa and I'm the incredibly lucky winner of the Tswalu competition. Tswalu has so much to offer, but we're really looking forward to the game viewing options, as going out with a personal guide who has so much knowledge will just be exceptional. Motsi Lodge looks absolutely amazing, and we're so looking forward to spending time there. It really is out of this world. I only registered as an explorer towards the end of January, so when the email arrived stating that I was the winner, it took me totally by surprise. I'd just like to thank Wild Earth and Tswalu for this most incredible prize. It really is a dream come true.
Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
Our bodies are made up of about 60% water, which means that in a very short space of time, you can dehydrate completely. A relatively efficient way of collecting water early in the morning is to take an absorbent material like a sock and to walk through the grass, absorbing the condensed dewdrops on the grass. Once the material is saturated, you can then squeeze it out into a container, or you can suck it out directly into your mouth.
Hi everyone, my name's Daniel Fisher and I'm going to be your guide this afternoon. I'm looking really forward to taking you through and showing you all the beautiful places here at And Beyond Ngala. If you have any questions, please register on our website. Once registered, go to the live page feed and post your questions underneath the live feed. Join me on my next safari through And Beyond Ngala on Wild Earth. Send me live questions through the Wild Earth website and I'll answer them live from the African bush.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene, rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into Wild Earth every single day. It's in your nature.
And we just couldn't resist. Look at that changing features constantly happening. It's like a movie set playing off, constantly just happening. I mean, it's just, we had a few cumulus clouds and then suddenly it's built up to this massive formation. And it's just roaring thunder that just keep on going with from the skies out there. And it's now just pouring down with rain in the eastern sections as it comes through. So when I show you from that gorgeous view, coming back over to these lions, they have come to a very sleepy position. There's even some of the cubs that's fast asleep. You can see there's one head that's just peeked up again of one of the little cubbies coming through. Just trying to also observe what was happening with the lightning there at some point, and then literally just the head dropped on most of them again. But yeah, fast asleep on most of these individuals. Even a nice stretch coming off to the left-hand side there. And so yeah, looking at these conditions, there was a huge amount of activity levels, obviously, that we looked at mostly throughout this afternoon. Lioness head just popped up there again as well. And it's got to have to happen where this lioness has got to have to scout over the area every now and again, just because of the presence of the cubs. There's a yawn again. But I think it's not really a big urge for them to really needing to move strongly from here onwards. It's rather really mission tomorrow morning. Build enough energy, save enough energy for tomorrow morning. Or typically in a situation where they can mission later on during the night to early morning structures and situations. So yeah, we are eventually going to leave these cubs now shortly. Just, well, from all these lions' point of view, these animals have all gone to a very sleepy motion. Yes, we do have heads every now and again popping up every now and again and so on. But yeah, it's really gorgeous. There's just a fantastic view to our western edge, to the skies out and about, that I just want to show you behind towards our backside here to our western edges. And so we'll pan off from these lines across towards that side. And just to give you a bit of those clouds, from the clouds that we're having in the east and that thunderstorm, look at that coloration happening in the sky on the western side. I mean, and that's where this big thunderstorm that we looked at on the eastern side have been coming from, and suddenly it looks like there's still a bit of clouds pushing through from the west, but just so gorgeous seeing that different colors. And once again, from the dust pollution line that we spoke about earlier, that just creates that gorgeous different colors on the skyline along with the mountains. Zay, you commenting that Tuvalu has got such beautiful skies and scenery environments. That is most probably one of the reasons why I'm still here today after a good 7 years of guiding on Tuvalu. It is one of the most magical environments, and to put the vastness and the wilderness factor on top of that, what could you ask for more? It is just so incredible. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. You get to wintertime, for instance, where you get these big cold front cloud formations every now and again, every 3 to 4 weeks or so apart, from one time to another time or so. And then you get this beautiful purple, pink, and reddish yellow skies that comes through in wintertime as well. But now, from that pinkish, orangey, maroon colors that comes through from the rainy structures in our summertime, yes, it's just a jam-packed scenery, structured environmental structure, if I can put it that way, all the way right throughout the different seasons throughout the year. It's just so gorgeous, so beautiful. Look at that coloration. Man, that is so beautiful. Stunning. So I think what we're going to do is, as we said earlier, we're going to leave these lines and bumble out of this area and see what else we can see. Possibly pick up on some any nocturnal animals that could be starting to move. As the sunset's rising, we might see a few antelope coming through this area as well for the last bit of daylight that we could be coming through and across to as we're going to progress a bit further south-southwest and see what we can see. But yeah, we're going to leave these lines. It is crazy. Just as I said that, the lioness popped up actually on the left-hand side. Just look at that actually happening. She's just sniffing and smelling into the wind. It's almost like she's saying, oh, you can't leave me now. You've been sitting, we've been occupying you most of the afternoon, just showing you a whole range of different behaviors. Why are you leaving us now? But yeah, she's just scouting over the area, just thinking about that scent as we've seen it earlier on, as the different scents come through the area, because we're still close to the waterhole, so there's different animals that passes through every now and again. over this given position. Let's pull around the bush, see if we can get to another different position there, see if we can see where she's heading off to there. I don't think she's going to move too far from this position, but yeah, these guys are so fast asleep. Cubs' heads moved up and so on, but yeah, some of the rest are literally just out for the count. Could be, you see, lions are very respective of each other from a point of view that they don't urinate like wild dogs on top of each other and in the spot where they're resting. Most of the time you get to a point where lioness would get up from the pride and then they walk off about couple of meters or so and then come back after they've defecated or done the toiletry unit and then come back to the pride and rest of them again along with everybody. It looks like she's popped onto the road here. I think she's literally just trying to scout and smell into the wind. So, as you can see, she's just popped out on the road here. Nicanova, you've just asked and wondered if Kalahari lion would be able to survive in a non-Kalahari environment. Definitely they can. It'll be a bit of a shock to the body for that first, shall I say, first month or so when they arrive in a tropical area or a typical area like Punda, for instance, or so. It'll be a bit of adjustment that needs to happen to the body. But the thing is, these animals are all living in Africa. And the thing is, they would be able to adjust and adapt. Because it's a Kalahari lion, being used to climatic changes or conditions that happens constantly right throughout the year, and used to adaptations that needs to happen constantly in order to survive, it gets to that point that specifically desert lions would be able to survive in that environment, in different regions basically. So yes, it's possible. But yeah, looking at the desert lions, I mean, they just do so much better in these areas as opposed to, well, their bodies actually bloats to such great sizes as well and to such a great natural condition just because they are in their true home where they truly belong. Stunning to see in this type of light that we're having right now. Just to see this lioness being in this formation, the coloration on her body coming out and about as well. And so it's just wanting to see where she was going to head to and what her plans were. But yeah, it looks like she started smelling something and just dropped down, resting on the road a bit there. And obviously just keeping tabs on what is approaching the area where all these cubs are at. Charles, you're asking how often do lions die from natural causes in the wild? Natural causes have got such a big range of different topics that you could get to from that point of view. Like natural causes from lightning, natural causes from diseases and sickness and illness. Yeah, it happens like like lions live up to, let's say, in the Kalahari, around 10 and a half, 11 years, basically, that you're looking at if they're lucky to make it to that far, and so on. But yeah, when they get to that age in the Kalahari, you see, lions consist overall in Africa, doesn't matter the type of species, consist all over Africa of a tapeworm that is all inside the body. And sometimes those tapeworms will cause blood clotting to happen with the blood flow of veins. And so what happens is that as they get older, because the tapeworms wrap up around the vein flow situations, and that is where it causes the blood's clots to come through the veins and then goes through to the heart. So sometimes lions, especially in the Kalahari, I've seen it happening where there's heart attacks literally happening because of blood's clotting happening, going through the heart and blocking certain flows of arteries and so. And that conditions happens, I'd say, maybe once, maybe twice in a lion's lifetime. it doesn't say that they always die from that physical structure that they went through. The chances are much higher that they will die from infection, bad infection, from an extremely bad wound, where a lioness got caught up between a whole pride of lions, a different pride of lions, for instance, that they got caught up in a situation where they've nearly almost killed her. And then the infections in the wounds got so bad that she's like almost been prohibited in a certain way where she can't really hunt effectively anymore. So that, from starvation, they could die, yes, out of that point of view. But yeah, basically coming down from that structure, in a strong wilderness environment like this, it comes down to that formation that they rather die from fights, wounds, bad wounds, injuries, and that sort of point of view as opposed to physical sickness. So folks, we shortly almost going to be switching over to a nighttime vision as we starting to lose our light. And the sun has set already and we lost the colors on the clouds here as well. So yeah, we will be switching over to nighttime vision right now. Aldarf, you're asking if lions are the only social cats that you get? No. Well, of all the cats, they are quite an extreme social animal, if I can put it that way, in big numbers and so on. But yeah, looking at cheetah, for instance, cheetahs, they mingle up quite nicely in coalitions, males being socially bonding together in that formation. Getting to litter groups walking for a long time together, being siblings, hunting for the first 3 years after birth together. And so, yeah, you get it with different species of cats coming through. Earlier on, Trish was talking about the black-footed cat or the small spotted cat, which is quite a species that we get in the Kalahari quite often. When they have their kittens and so on, you will have those little guys also mingling together in quite a strong social structure. And then in unities, the pair, male and female, will walk together in certain areas, looking for mice, rodents, and things and so on. But yeah, cats, in certain ways, definitely there's more than the lions that acts socially. And especially in an environment in the Kalahari, for instance, it is very important for them to do so, because in that conditions, it is just better for survival strategies and situations. Oh, there's another big yawn again. So as I've mentioned earlier with these yawns, definitely as the pride will get, these events happens just before they get active generally. But would you know it, look at that. And it's quite deceiving. We've had all of those flat cats, and suddenly, look at that. We're having the other lioness just popping out on the road as well. And it must be because they smelled something earlier on, and because we saw their heads popping up, and you can see their focus is continuously to the northern section into the bush here, as the breeze is coming through from the north, out of the rain direction now, as there's more clouds that blown in from Botswana side, from our northern sections. And so yeah, it looks like these guys are just smelling into the wind, trying to figure out what animals are passing by. Now, I can't see anything coming through, passing by in the northern sections. I mean, lions being lions and being animals, their senses are so sharp, so they can smell things from long distances away. And one by one, the cubs are coming out. Peter, you're asking if lions can sense upcoming rain coming out in the long distance, and so, you know what? Lions will definitely know about weather coming like up front far up front, basically, as weather conditions are approaching. And that is why, especially desert lions, would do certain things at certain given times, just because it comes down to that situation that if they are too late, for instance, hunting or looking for food, they might lose an opportunity and lose energy that was needing to be gaining on those body conditions. And so, but yeah, speaking about Kalahari, or animals in total, basically, it comes down to that formation that these animals can detect good, shall I say, veld conditions from a long time up front. Like, for instance, springbuck would start mating well in advance before our rainy season comes through, just because they notice and they know, being a desert animal, there's good conditions coming up in the future. You could have the driest condition. I've had it many years before and plenty of times where you get to a situation where you see these type of things happening in the driest of droughts of conditions to the most dramatic sceneries, and you see these animals getting energy from nowhere. It's almost like that whatever they sensed and whatever they have noticed that is coming up, that their senses is telling them, I'm telling you, months in advance, starting to do things just because they know what's coming up in a few months' time. For instance, we had springbuck lambing in abundance in the month of October, and it was still dry. And then suddenly, just all these lambs being given birth to from the oryx point of view, from springbuck point of view, all these desert animals just in a situation where they were adjusting for what's coming up next for this 2021 year. See that little cub just popped out on the edge of these lionesses here as well. So I think what we can do is, it looks like these cats have come up to the road and just scouting again. There's another big fat yawn. And so basically, as they come up to this road, it then gets to a point that the cubs will come up to the lionesses as well and just scout furthermore. But the amount of behavior happening here, where we can see the amount of yawning, but just the simple fact that the other lioness's head is dropped down again, I think they're going to take still a bit of a while to get active going furthermore from here. I must say, I was expecting much more earlier on this afternoon from a mobile point of view, getting to walk much further. As we could obviously see the different behaviors, where we were seeing them actually moving through the different behaviors, and especially this lioness grooming herself here in front. She was showing so much eagerness to hunting strategy. But yeah, again, it comes back to that training sessions that was happening. So I do think these lions are going to take a tiny bit longer still to get active and going from here furthermore. So I think what we should do is we stick with our plan, and we can most probably finally leave these guys and say thank you for a fantastic sighting they've given us throughout this whole afternoon. I think we're going to pop past that waterhole further west, see what has possibly come through that area. There's a possibility of any type of nocturnal animal that could have been starting coming through there already. So yeah, I think we're going to take a drive up towards south and west.
February is the month of love, and nature is no exception. Tristan and Trishala will be igniting the flame to discuss the bonds formed in the African wild. Sign up to become an explorer and join them by the fire on Sunday, the 28th of February. Wild Earth Explorers. It's in your nature.
We get asked quite regularly what are the differences between African and Asian elephants. We caught up with Haresh, who's from Leopard Trails, which is based in Sri Lanka.
Of course, size and weight is the first thing you notice. The African elephant is much bigger than the Asian elephant. tusks. In the Asian elephant, it's a very small percentage of male elephants only who have tusks. I was told that there's a theory that the African elephant's ear is in the shape of Africa. The Asian elephant has a much smaller ear. The elephant represents the bush and the jungle in Sri Lanka in a quintessential manner, and I think it's very important that we do whatever we can to protect them.
Hi, my name is Tristan Dix, and I am a guide here at Djuma Private Game Reserve for Wild Earth. We love connecting you to the African bush, and we always look forward to all of your questions. If you want to ask a question on Wild Earth, you'll need to register on the website. Once registered, go to our live safari page and submit a question below the live feed. Catch up with me on Wild Earth.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on Wild Earth daily.
Welcome back, and as we're driving off into the shall I say, the sunset's gone long time. It's more like nighttime literally now. So we're driving just in the last bit of crepuscular light that we're driving a bit further south into the mountains and some of the edges of the dunes here. We have just come past this waterhole on the right hand side. It looks like there's nothing really that's come through yet. It's very quiet actually. Yes, that lightning's still very actively going on that side. And so we're going to be looking and seeing on the edges of these mountains. This is the time of the day where you possibly could get some brown hyena coming down from the mountains as they hide, especially with the presence of lions in an area as we just left those lions. They hide up in the mountains, up high, quite a bit, especially the endangered species being the brown hyena. And then come down during this crepuscular light to water points to drink. This is especially why I've driven past that waterhole, just to see if we can pick up on any activity there. So, FC, can you just repeat that question again? Didn't hear everything there? Jerome, you are asking, and my apologies for not hearing that first time, you asking can brown hyena and spotted hyena live in the same area and environment? Yes, indeed they can. But whenever they bump into each other, there's a massive fight, because then you get to that point where there is inter-specific competition happening quite a bit. We are just looking at this crazy lightning happening here at the moment. And Morgan was just saying to me, no, it is just crazy looking at that. So just to look at that again, I mean, that's crazy thinking about the amount of flashes that happens in the sky there now. And it's because there's such a huge conglomeration that's been happening of all these clouds. But look at all this flashing happening. That is crazy. The magical wonders and times of the Kalahari. Yo, it just literally reflects strongly up into the skies. From talking about special species like brown hyena and spotted hyena, and collaborating in the same areas and so on, where they battle, can occur in the same areas, but battle against each other, to something as mighty and powerful as that. That is nature at its best. Guys, how dramatic is that? That is crazy. And all of that weather's obviously passed over and gone further east. And so, but yes, I've seen some of the biggest flooding happening in the Kalahari when thunderstorms have been pushing over us, and it passes over to the direction where it's already left into, going into, and suddenly the wind pushes all of that weather patterns back, and that is where it becomes really dramatic. Big flooding happening. Especially because this area in the Kalahari, the presence of the mountains in this environment, that flash flood that comes through every now and again in our rainy seasons, when that weather turns around like that, suddenly you find out about springs and waterfalls and things are happening in the mountains. And I know about the springs in the mountains, but I never knew about the waterfalls that we had over the mountains suddenly coming over. Somebody asked me a few months ago, I would have said no. There's no waterfalls in the desert. And that is crazy. But yet, because of the scenery that we're looking at right now, this is what it comes down to. Puffy structure on the top of the clouds as well. It's just the different wind forces and the different positives and negatives in the clouds coming in there as well. So folks, we're gonna literally, from that gorgeous point of view that we got there, I think we're gonna take a drive further down the road, see what we see.